Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 25 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth game discussion podcast. I am your host as always, Brad Ellis, and joining me this week are Gene Park, The Washington Post. Gene, how you doing, man?
Good, very exhausted. It's been a long week of gaming. As Matty would know too. Maddie's been busy too, but
we'll get into that.
Yeah,
fear not.
Lots of gaming. I was up till 4 a.m. last night.
Oh my god!
Helping a friend out with finding stuff in Elden Ring. So as you would do, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, I can't stay up that late anymore. I don't know how you guys do it. I get to 1 a.m. and I'm like, all right, I need to go to bed. I'm tired.
How early do you get up?
9, 8:30.
Yeah. That averages out. When I get up that early, that's usually when I start to get a little tired. But there's some days just something happens with my brain. I'm like, I'll get up at 9. I can just go to like 3. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm wired at times.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling folks that I started to get tired around my 30s, and I started to go to bed earlier. But then once I hit my 40s, I started to wind back around and stay up late and wake up late. So
wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, of course, joining us, Matty, Mr. Matty Plays.
Hello.
A celebrity nowadays, getting some big, big interviews, all that good stuff. We'll get into that though.
Yeah,
Matt, how you doing?
Be here. It's good to be here, man. I'm very excited about the games we're going to talk about this episode. I think we got a really great selection. I mean, as we always do, but I mean, sometimes I feel like the stars align with Summon Sign, and you just get like these, the review embargo time as well with the episode, and we got that this week. So these are my favorite ones to be a part of. So thank you for having me. Really excited to talk about all the games this week.
Yeah,
this one slides in real perfectly with the embargo date and the 2 LSM members that still get early access games, basically. Right?
Yes. Before we get into the show, though, everybody,
the only respectable members. That's why Maddie's getting all the good interviews too.
Yeah, we're all shunned. The rest of us.
Yeah.
Before we get into the show, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia. If you would like to support us there, that's how it's like the lifeblood of this company. It is the lifeblood of this company. We need your support and we greatly appreciate it. Like so many of you do. Thank you everyone who does. Also, if you do support us on there, you get a lot of benefits like early access to all of our shows like this, Defining Duke, our Xbox podcast hosted by Matty himself. Punching Up with Gene is also on our Nintendo podcast. And of course, Sacred Symbols with the Sacred Boys, all that good stuff, and Sacred Symbols Plus, and lots of good stuff like that. Also, laststandmedia.store if you want to get some merch. We got stickers over there, shirts. We got a Summon Sign shirt. We got, there was pre-orders for Defining Duke, The Health is Wealth. I think those are over.
Those have closed since last week. So, yeah, very excited to get mine in the mail. They look amazing.
Did you get the tank top?
I got both. I did exercise my LSM privilege and ask for both of us. So I was like, hey, Ben, Micah, if it's cool, I would love both. I want like a gym wear one and then like an events wearing one, like where I can just go out with this thing. Go grocery shopping in my Health is Wealth shirt. Just have the motto pasted on my chest constantly. But yeah, they're sick. They're sick.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait to see Cog in his tank top because he's like built like a Gears of War character.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, because I saw him at Summer Game Fest. And his bicep is humongous.
Oh, dude, he's a huge man.
I was like, how is this possible?
Yeah, he is like a short Gears of War character. Holy shit.
Yeah. It's so good, man.
This guy's got a roadie run into the next Game Awards event.
We got a good show coming up, like everyone was talking about. We got some good stuff. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, of course. Very excited. Before we get into the games, though, we got some write-ins. It's from Caleb Peacock. This is a keep it up. I'm just going to throw it in anyways. Keep it up to Matty. I feel like this could be said any week as he juggles a few YouTube channels with the help of Locke, as well as running the Dukes and developing a game. But keep it up to Matty this week specifically for landing Todd Howard over on his channel. I just want to hear how Matty prepared and how he felt about the interview. I know he was like me in middle school playing Oblivion and Fallout 3 day and night, so it must be a crazy feeling to interview the guy now professionally. Just really proud of our boy.
Yeah,
yes, you can check out that interview. Please do, Matty. You know, Mr. Matty plays with God Howard. A delightful surprise to see.
It made headlines.
Yes, it made headlines.
You got aggregated by the gaming sites. You know, that was cool.
Yeah, that was crazy to see too. Yeah, because it's. I'm still kind of processing it as we record this. It's the day after it went live. We recorded it last Wednesday, so I recorded that interview and then went straight into Defining Duke afterwards. Hence why I was wearing the same outfit for both those videos / episodes.
Stinky Matty.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was greasing it up in there. But yeah, how did it feel? I mean, obviously incredible. I think that kind of speaks for itself. Like, you know, it definitely was a milestone moment, and it really left me like with some happy tears. First time. I've met Todd in the past a few times. We've chatted extensively before, so that's why I think it had such a comfortable feel on the interview. I'm glad it translated well to the audience. So I think that's what made it so good. Is, you know, we've spoken a number of times before, so I think that carried over. But also, you know, just kudos to him to having the willingness to just let me ask whatever. Like, I just had a list of questions to my right, like I would for any LSM interview, and just sat down, fired away. And I think he gave some really insightful answers. Obviously, it's an honor. Like, that was it's like a bucket list moment, right? Like, you look at that and you're like, hey, when I hang it up, when I'm done, like, that's something I always wanted to do. Yeah. And frankly, on a selfish level, like, the dream was always like, whenever I ideated it, like, oh, Matty, you want to interview Todd Howard? Of course. Like, what would be the perfect situation? Like, after a showcase, one-on-one, no one else gets it except me. I'm like, that's stupid, though. Who the hell would do that? And it happened. It happened. And that's the unbelievable part, is that he had another, it's a fascinating story. He had 2 interview schedules, me and I don't know who else. Someone else had him, though. And that interview canceled. And so, like, 18 hours before the interview goes live, I get a message from my rep at Bethesda, and they're like, hey, by the way, you're his only interview. No pressure. I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. So it was like, okay. So now I know, like, we're just going to be, like, everyone's going to be talking about this probably. And so there was a little bit of pressure going in of, like, I'm comfortable talking to Todd. I think I can handle it. But, like, okay, now this is going to be a level of eyes on me that I don't think I've really ever seen before. And you know, how does this go? How do people react? Like, are people going to be pissed that this is a bit legitimizing for me? Are people going to be excited for me? You never really know.
That's right.
Yeah, you never really know.
Your haters must be so mad to see that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, God damn it. We never wanted to see him succeed. Ever.
Well, the thing that's interesting about it is
this?
It's been a good personal check, because sometimes I do get swarmed with a little bit of negativity, and it gets in my head, like, as a level of, like, you know, like, why, you know, kind of like a why bother. Brad, you've seen it. Gene, you've seen it. We talked about it a little bit in LSM Discord, where I'm just like, what the fuck's going on sometimes, man? Like, I don't get it. And that was a very reaffirming thing, where it was a good way to personally check myself and be like, Matty, if this isn't enough, to remind you why you do this and why it matters. And nothing ever will be. And it's a you problem at that point. Like, people are going to be people, but, like, this is why you work hard to get a moment like this where
enjoy it.
Yeah. You just get to enjoy it. Like, I never, not even scarcely, I never bask in, like, a moment ever. I just, I'm on to the next thing. But this is one of the rare times I'm like, I'm going to take it in. And so,
take a breath. Enjoy it.
I just was like, you know what?
Especially since, like Caleb said, like, how long you've been playing Bethesda games, but also creating content for it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and the hope is, you know, we can use that as sort of a pitch to other developers and publishers and be like, hey, look, like, these conversations open avenues that there's, like, a level of broken trust between press and gamers right now. And there's a lot of skepticism, and it's just ruining the conversation. Like, you need to open up new avenues. And I'm hoping that we can take that and show it to other companies and be like, hey, come talk. Like, let's just have an open, honest conversation. Look how well it goes. Cause it was trending, which I didn't expect. It was trending in gaming. I think it got to, like, number 35, which I haven't had that happen in, like, 6 years. So that was really cool. But yeah, the prep work was kind of easy for Todd, just because I listened to all his interviews, so I knew what questions to avoid. I've seen the typical pitfalls that interviewers fall into with the questions they ask, so I try to avoid those. And then obviously, since he was a dream interview, it's like you have your own mental list of questions, just like 5 or 6 ready to go right off the bat. Like, that the prep work was a little easier in that regard. Like, I didn't really like to study the person or anything like that. So it definitely played to my strengths a little bit. But yeah, man, it was an honor. And you know, of course, thank you to everyone who supported to make it a possibility. And also thank you to Bethesda, because it really was a level of trust to just, you know, let a YouTuber get an interview with, like, their golden boy. Like, that's that's a pretty big level of trust there. So I hope they found it worth it. It seems like they did. But yeah, it was just incredible. So I'm really appreciative that everyone's kind of shown out with support in a very vocal manner. If I won't lie, it felt very good to be celebrated in the way that it happened. I've never quite experienced that, and so it was very reaffirming and validating. And I think I needed that to my soul needed to be fed with that a little bit. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Caleb, for the write-in.
Yeah, everyone, please check out Matty's interview. It's very good. I enjoyed listening. I haven't finished it, but I listened like 40 minutes of it, and I enjoyed it very much. So
nice. I'm glad you're
very
enjoying
good shit, everybody. Check that out.
It's on my watch later playlist, definitely.
Yeah, nice. Let me know what you think, Gene. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Speaking of interviews, Gene, I am curious.
I interviewed Todd a couple like during the Starfield thing. And that was cool. And I met him too. It's funny because he did that Lex Friedman podcast. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. And Todd was telling me that he did not know that Lex Friedman goes on for 4 hours. So he thought it was going to be an hour.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. So when he got there, like he was informed that this is a long podcast. He was like, oh, okay, all right.
Well, I'm here now.
He was just trapped there for 4 or 5 hours.
That was the surprising thing about that interview is like that was so long. Like I think my interview totaled out to like, not accounting for the ones that I didn't write down that were kind of more impromptu. I think I had like close to 20 questions, and that was just over an hour. And I'm like, when we got to the end, like I had more time to ask him stuff, and I was like, I don't have any more questions. Like, how did Lex go on for so long?
I have no idea. Yeah, because I haven't listened to that whole thing either. You know.
Oh man. Yeah. I had multiple times because, like, of course, Todd dropped a bunch of nuggets, and then I had to re-listen to it to find like what I wanted to reference in a future video and all that shit. So yeah, I've heard that show so many times.
Yeah, I think shorter interviews are totally fine, though. I think there's value in long form content like we do, but I think short form content's kind of underrated. That gets like to the point, you know.
We make long form content at LSM when we're talking like an hour interview short.
Yeah. It's like when I used to do reviews, they'd be like 7 minutes usually. Most times, sometimes it'd be like 10 for like Elden Ring, but like I like shorter form like reviews like that. There is of course room for long reviews. People do long reviews, that's fine, but I usually like just kind of getting to the point and not wasting time.
For reviews, I definitely try to write short, especially since like the industry standard is to write like 7 fucking pages.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I think that's you can talk about a game and you don't have to take 7 pages to do it. It's fine if you want to do it, you know. And there's a lot to talk about, obviously. But
yeah, how many words do you usually write, Gene, for a review?
I try not to go over 2,000 max.
Yeah, 2,000 I think was like the high end for a review. I think Elden Ring was like 2,000 words or something, just because it's a massive game. I usually try to do like 900 or 1,000, depending on the game. Some games are small, you could do in 700. Those are fucking ruled. I love that shit.
Yeah, my Hellblade 2 review was short too. So, I mean, there wasn't much to say.
I wonder why.
Yeah. But
I mean, we just had a Sacred Cinema podcast last week that was 5.5 hours long. That's longer than Hellblade 2.
Yeah, I know, dude.
Listen to the whole podcast episode and finish the game at the same time.
Yeah,
see what happens first.
But no shade to anyone.
I don't mean to fucking keep going at you.
It's fun.
Weeks after.
No shade to anyone who does long form content. Also, there's total value in there, and I enjoy a lot of that stuff too. Just depends what I'm in the mood for.
Brad, I can't get over the haircut, dude. Like, I love it.
Oh, thank you, man.
Good. Yeah, like
I haven't had my hair this short in a a long time.
Yeah, like you were pulling up with the mullet at LSM, right? And now, like you're like a total, you're like total Chad now. It's sick.
I'm like one of those people that likes to change my hair like every year or something like that. Sure. I always think of it as like my David Bowie phases. This year I'm this phase or whatever. This year I'm Ziggy Stardust or some shit like that. I always like to do something like that, so it'll probably be different in a year from now.
Well, it looks good, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate that. This is from Real Radic. Sup, boys? Unfortunately, the Sacred Crew has outed themselves as eco haters. Brad and Gene, please just take a few minutes to explain why this game is a masterpiece. Dustin's a great guy, but his rant on Sacred last week about this game might have been one of the worst takes I've ever listened to in my life.
I couldn't even listen to it.
I believe Dustin called this game trash.
Oh,
my God. Trash? Trash. Really, Dustin? Trash? That is a dramatic statement. If you think this game's trash, you got to play more games, dude.
Yeah.
Now, Gene, I'm going to replay Eco sometime soon just so I can eviscerate Dustin.
Yeah.
So I need a refresh because I haven't played it, I think, like 8 years maybe. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Me too. Yeah. About 8 years since the PS3 was last hooked up, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to replay it. I do think Eco was, of course, weaker in my opinion than Shadow of the Colossus. I think Shadow of the Colossus is their best game. But I did like Eco quite a bit. And it's rough around the edges in some ways, but I think it is a important game. It's still an awesome game that has obviously influenced the industry. Our Lord and Savior, Hidetaka Miyazaki, makes games because of that game.
Literally.
So I think it should be a crime if you talk shit on Eco. I think you should be thrown in the slammer, the gulag. I think we should put Dustin in the gulag, is what I'm saying.
It's a little bit like saying like Mario 64 is not like influential or like a trash game, even though to be fair, Mario 64 does control a lot better than Eco. You know, to be very clear,
of course it does. Mario 64 is still a godlike game.
It's because it's fucking Mario, right? They're kind of stacked over there. But with Eco, like Eco was really the first time like we had any kind of adventure 3D platformer game. You know, so Uncharted would not exist without Eco. You know, Prince of Persia. The Sands of Time, the original remake by Ubisoft and Jordan Mechner. Jordan Mechner, the creator of Prince of Persia, played Eco, and he was like, "Holy shit, he just turned Prince of Persia into 3D." You know, and then, so why don't we just copy that for the Prince of Persia remake, which was of course the famous Ubisoft reboot, and then that ended up influencing Uncharted, and Uncharted obviously influenced The Last of Us, and you know, The Last of Us influenced everything else. You know. So yeah, you can't look at Eco as, you know, I saw this is not on Dustin, right? Dustin has already pissed me off enough with this, right? But there was another reply to Dustin that was like, you know, just like dick riding him and just like, oh yeah, don't worry, Dustin, games are supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, just drop it. And it's like, okay, first of all, yeah, games are supposed to be fun, but Dustin is also playing this as research, right? He's trying to play this to kind of find out exactly what Miyazaki and Neil Druckmann saw in this game. You know? So the point isn't to have fun. The point is to understand what they saw in this game. You know. So I'm wondering, okay, Dustin, if you think this is trash, fine. If you don't like the game, that's okay. But do you understand what people took out of it? You know, you understand why it's influential. That it's fine. You don't have to like a game. You know, you don't have to like Citizen Kane. You know, but you have to know why Citizen Kane is important.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue to talk shit on Dustin because it's fun forever. So, sorry, Dustin. Yeah. I believe you said you wanted to strangle him, and that made me laugh. And I was like,
dude, you know how, like, maybe some of you don't notice, but when Matty would notice, because if you're really popular online and then like you get into an argument and then someone's like getting into an argument with you back, and you go offline, and then that argument kind of just stays with you. And like just poisons you and festers with you, and you're just like, fuck, I need a reply though. And you log on a reply and show them why they're wrong. They're so obviously wrong. So I need to hit the reply button and tell them, right? I had that feeling. I was like walking around my house steaming mad. And then I realized I was mad at Dustin. My good friend, the guy who met my mom, you know, and I'm so fucking mad at this guy, and that's when I realized I had to log off. I was like, man, I actually want to fight Dustin. Yeah, so.
It sounds like I got to play Eco if we were gonna fist fight over this one.
Oh, you've never played it, Matty? Okay,
no, I'm behind on Japan Studio Games.
That's a retro rebound.
Prime.
Shadow of the Colossus. I played a little of, and I think I was like too young to really appreciate it. So
sure.
Yeah, but like I thought it was cool though what I played, because I think I got it as like a PS3 download or something like that. I guess I'll probably play the PS4 remaster remake.
For Shadow of the Colossus?
There's no PS4 remaster.
For Shadow of the Colossus, there's the remake. But Eco, you have to play the PS3 version or the PS2.
Yeah, because I remember seeing the Eco and Shadow of the Colossus collection on PS3. It's something I want to get to one of these days. I had no idea it was so influential, so that sounds interesting to me.
Absolutely,
I will research it.
Miyazaki played it, and he was like, "You know what? I want to make video games. Let me look for a job in video games." And then he applied to From Software, and he was like, "Yeah, Demon. Like, I'm thinking about Eco. Let me make Demon Souls." You know,
interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then Uncharted. You know, Neil Druckmann was like, "Oh yeah, let's just copy the Eco model." You know, a platforming of making those last minute jumps. That's all Eco. It all started in Eco. You know.
Okay. Yeah, Eco is definitely
wild that Dustin doesn't see that. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
Eco's a stiff game, but I still love it. I think it's an awesome game. What a mood. All of Fumito Ueda's games have like the best atmosphere. I absolutely adore all of his games.
Mhm.
Hopefully we get to see his game that he's been working on for a while soon. But he sure as hell takes his time with whatever game he makes. That's for sure.
Do you guys like? Is he the one who did Last Guardian? Is that
Yeah.
like?
You
Yeah.
do that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys like that?
Yeah, I like Last Guardian.
I never finished it, so you
Yeah.
know,
I remember
I
being, like, a
have it
little
forever
disappointed
installed
by
in my PS5, and I mean to go back to it because I do feel like that it's fucked up. That Ueda is like one of my favorite creators, right? He
Yeah.
made two of my favorite games. I just never finished the third one because I didn't like it, honestly. You know, that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
you're playing, Maddie.
His
But
games
when
are widely different every time. And if like
Yeah.
there's always like a mechanic, I guess, in his games, and if it doesn't click with you, leaving a bird dog around, it might
Yeah.
not do it for
Yeah,
you.
but Dustin loved The Last Guardian too.
Trico.
So it's like,
Oh my god.
Yeah, Dustin loved Last Guardian, yeah, which is
yeah,
weird.
so like, what the fuck is going on?
Like Last Guardian is stiff as fuck too.
It's very stiff. What the fuck is he talking about, man?
But
And there's no combat in Last Guardian either, right? So it's like, what's going on?
you throw like barrels, I think, or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And that was awful. You know, and now the comments are going to come after me for hating The Last Guardian. I don't hate The Last Guardian. I'm not making a judgment on it. I never finished it. So
I think most of his games have flaws, but I think they're outweighed greatly by other aspects of his games, like presentation and story. No one had like he has like the coolest vibes in any games. His vibes are unmatched in my opinion. So, but yeah, God tier. Where's your next game, Ueda? Get that shit out.
Sort it out. Yeah.
Sort it out. Oh, it feels bad saying that about Ueda. That makes me feel weird. But yeah, get that game out. All right, this is from Tis Toasty. Hey, Sly, Bradley Cooper, Mean Gene, and getting behind the booty, Matty. That's in quotations. I don't know what that's about.
I said I was talking about Matt Booty and like talking about like what to earn my backing, what he would have to do, and I said I got to get behind the booty, and I was like, oh wait. Yeah. So, yeah. I had like 8 pause moments last Duke episode. It was bad, man. It was a bad episode. Right? I accidentally yelled "come" at one point. Like I don't know what was going on in my brain that episode, bro. Something was wrong. But yeah, it's just bad look.
Wild times. Let's see. Quick warm-up question for you fellas. What's your proudest gaming achievement? From completing a difficult game, obtaining an elusive trophy, getting a platinum for one of your favorite games, or something badass that you did in the game itself? A moment that stands out in your mind like, wow, I just did that. Thanks for, that's all for now. Toodaloo, fellas. Wow, toodaloo. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Toodaloo.
Proudest gaming moment, guys. What's something you look back fondly on or you're happy in gaming that makes you feel good?
Man. I would say there's 2 things that come to mind on like different ends of the spectrum. Liza P is a good one where I got the puppet string and there's an upgrade you can get, which lets you basically do like an Attack on Titan cut down on an enemy.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I like attached it to a giant puppet, and as he's like going to swing at me, just P goes straight up into the sky. I come down, I cut down on him, and he just like drops, and I slowly rotated the camera as he was falling. It's fucking sick. I was like, yeah, that'll always stick with me.
That's a gamer moment for sure.
That's peak gamer moment. Yeah,
that was when I wrapped. I was thinking right then and there. I was like, this combat is so different from any FromSoft game. It has the similar bones to it, but there's so many ways to have fun with it. The one that is on the other end of the spectrum is my Amazing Spider-Man 2 Platinum. Not a fun time. Actually, the worst Platinum trophy ever. But
for
I distinctly remember just, dude. That game not only is like the worst Spider-Man game ever, in my opinion, it's got one of the worst Platinums. But I loved Spider-Man. It's so funny because I love Amazing Spider-Man 1, but didn't get the Platinum for that. Like it's almost like a motivator. Like you got to go get the other Spider-Man Plats now, man. It's just not acceptable. But
Amazing Spider-Man 1 wasn't that bad,
yeah. Like, but I bought it. I remember listening. This is when like Colin was at Kind of Funny, so I remember like grinding the Kind of Funny podcast and like listening to like 4 episodes, just finishing out this platinum. And when I got the trophy for like beating the game on the hardest difficulty, I'm not even kidding. It popped, ejected disc, put it in there. I called my friend. I said, we're going to GameStop. I traded that shit in immediately. Like I hate that game. No exaggeration. So yeah, this would be some of my epic gamer moments, if you will. Proud achievements. It's like I overcame adversity in that one, and that's a good feeling into its own.
Gene, anything you're very proud of?
Epic gamer moment. I guess there's 2 things, right? Epic gamer moment and proud gaming achievement. Epic gamer moment. I like Manny brought that up. And to keep in line with the Ueda theme, it was when I actually landed accidentally the Shadow Colossus skip for the third boss.
The flip up,
when he flicks his sword up, and I was actually able to time the jump just right, and I flew high up in the air and landed right on his fucking forehead and landed the stab. And I felt like I like it was like an orgasm. It was like the first time I ever had sex. Like you never forget that. It was just like seared into my memory. It was just I just couldn't believe it.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. Like, and that happened like, you know, when I played Shadow Colossus on PS2. You know, so it happened all those years ago, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. In terms of achievements, I was really good at Virtua Fighter 4. I think like I mastered like the Kumite mode, which is like the hard, the really difficult challenge mode, and I was able to unlock everything. And I was pretty much like a pro level Virtua Fighter player, which is like about as good as you can get in terms of fighting games, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I guess Bloodborne, you know, getting the maximum level, that was fun. You know, hitting level 500 something. I still have. I actually, you know, there's so much to talk about Bloodborne these days. I actually revisited my save, and it was really nice to kind of go back to that old save and just start hitting things in Bloodborne and just seeing them all melt. You know, it's fun.
Yeah, revisiting that game is always fun. But then I just get frustrated. I'm like, God, this game runs like shit.
It does run like shit, though, man. Like it's only gotten worse in my eyes, especially after like playing Elden Ring, and the performance is pretty good there. I mean, we can talk about more of that later, but especially after playing Elden Ring, and I went back to Bloodborne, and it's like, oh man, no, I definitely feel every frame. You know, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. It's more like for me, I don't mind the frames as much as like I know when I go back, it's gonna be time they just announce like, hey everyone, we're remastering it. It's like great, just played it finally.
Manny, you gotta do it. You gotta take the bullet for all of us. Just play through the whole game again.
Just go in and make it happen.
Yeah.
I'll do it too. I actually started a new fresh save, and I was like, you know, should I do another one? You know, it's been a few years.
For me, proudest game achievement is I think I was like 5 or 4, but beating Zelda 1 the first time when I was very young, because it took me a very long time. I drew like maps and stuff. I remember.
Wow.
We called Nintendo Power Hotline one time. Probably shouldn't have done that, but we did. But when I felt like I spent so long on that game, and just when I finally beat it, it felt like a huge achievement. Because it's probably one of the earlier games I ever beat also. So that's one that definitely stuck with me. And I don't know, just getting all the platinums and all from Soft games. Always nice little, feels good.
You got all of them? Nice.
I have all of them except Armored Core 6 I haven't done yet.
Oh man. Good luck with that.
I really like doing From Software ones. I think they're super fun to do. So I would love to do Armored Core 6 someday, but there's a tidal wave of games, so it's hard to find time.
100%.
Always something.
I still haven't finished Armored Core 6.
It's so good.
Yeah, actually, it's my deep shame of 2023. But,
yeah. Like I think about starting, I'm like thinking about playing it, then I'm like, well, I got, Lost Odyssey's been looking at me for a long time too. I still need to play that. I know, Matty, you're a huge fan, so I really want to play it too, because I heard it's amazing from everybody. So
it's so good. You in particular would absolutely love it.
But... Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's Brad Bate written all over that game. 100%, I would love that. But there's just too many things, dude. Too many other games I have to play.
Oh, Lost Odyssey is totally Brad Bate.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
It was annoying that like I saw Matty. I don't know if you remember, but people were hinting before the Xbox showcase, like, "Ooh, people who are fans of Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon."
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened with that. That was a weird kind of bait rumor, because it just came out of nowhere. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be Blue Dragon," which I was like cool with. I'm also like, "Why are we suddenly doing Blue Dragon?"
Yeah, again? Blue Dragon would be so random.
Yeah. I was like, I don't expect that. I was like, maybe it's Fantasian, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw the showcase. I was like, wait, where the fuck was that though? And I was like, were they talking about Expedition 33? And they must have been, and they're just like, oh, here's another Xbox RPG. Xbox gets like one more RPG, and they're like, oh, it's just like Blue Dragon.
It's turn-based.
It's turn-based, just like Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey. Like, all right.
I saw 0 Blue Dragon in that game. If that's what happened, and people need to turn in their gamer cards if that's what led to that assessment.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I guess I don't know, but
some got a little too squirrely.
How fucking stupid people are these days. So.
Yeah.
I have hope in our great citizens of planet Earth that intelligence still remains somewhere.
Maddie, I'm hoping we get the Trails in the Sky remake that's rumored or whatever.
Yeah, dude. Only
that's preventing me from starting.
They're approaching their 20th anniversary just a few days from now, and I am preparing a Trails in the Sky video in hopes that they do something for it. I'm just like, all right, Hail Mary time. Like, let's do it. Let's just celebrate this thing anyway because it's 20 years. But there's so many teases they've been doing. Like, Kondo's going to the West for the first time since I think 2015 or something, and he's like their studio head. I'm like, they're doing something big.
Yeah,
they've ported all these old games. Like, I think it's time, and I'm gonna lose my shit if they actually do it because I love the Sky trilogy so much, and that is some of my favorite JRPG memories in there. So that'd be really cool. Yeah, it'd be cool too because I know you want to get into it. It'd be a fantastic starting point. Yeah,
that series is like the biggest gap in my JRPG knowledge catalog, so
it's a tough catch up, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, and I respect the fuck out of it because it is like one continuous thing.
Yeah,
and I love that developers that do that. I love that Kingdom Hearts does that, even though it's very stiff barrier for entry. But it's once you're in it, it's like perfect because it pays off for you once you're in it.
Yeah, that would be another gaming achievement I'm proud of. Just catching up on all Trails. I mean, that's like probably 300 hours worth of games there, and just doing that over time throughout the course of like a year and change is really just like a good feeling because it's like you just get to watch these characters in this world evolve over time, and really just like one of the most memorable gaming journeys I've gone on. So that's another one because that type of catch up is tough. Like my next target for that, don't worry, Brad, I haven't forgot, Final Fantasy 14. It's like I'm gonna go for it. That's like it's my next long term catch up because I it's motivating me, Brad. I keep thinking about how you're like, I'll play KOTOR. I'm like, that is the shot in the arm I needed. So
I do need to play KOTOR, dude. Someone, I think I was talking to Locke, and he thinks like that maybe why can't I think of the studio that made Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh,
Larian might be doing KOTOR because I guess they're working on like a sci-fi.
That's definitely us hoping it. Like we've talked about it. Like they're working on 2 games, and I'm thinking like one of them's. I don't care if it's Star Wars or not at this point because when you look at what Lucas right now is doing with Star Wars, or I should say Disney. Sorry, is doing with Star Wars. Like I look at the Acolyte, I'm like, how are you? Like even I can't defend this. Like what are you guys fucking doing?
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I heard it's bad though.
It's so fucking bad. Like it's just like how does this get this budget? Like how did it get greenlit? Like what the fuck happened here? So even my faith a little bit in Star Wars is waning. Where I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I'm Larian, like control your own fate. Go make your own thing that like you're not going to have any control from like corporate overheads on, and just like romance ship, kill whoever the fuck you want, that sort of thing.
Right, exactly. Like, what if we end up in like a Guardian situation, and everyone's like, oh, we don't like Marvel anymore,
Yeah, exactly. So I think they'd be wise to. I hope they're just doing a sci-fi game. That's my hope, and I would imagine one of those 2 games that they're doing is Divinity Original Sin 3, because now they're like, well, we got the big bucks. Like let's give Divinity its due. And that's going to be sick as hell. I don't know what they're going to do to make that not feel like Baldur's Gate 3 if they like really upgrade the presentation and everything, but we'll see. But dude, I'm so excited for the future of that team. But I don't know if it's Star Wars. I think it's got to be sci-fi though. You got to have your yin to your yang, right? There's got to be balance in this world.
Totally.
Unless they're just real fantasy heads and they're like, fuck it, let's just do 2 new fantasy series.
Yeah, maybe.
Fucking wild.
All right, boys. It's time. You 2 have been playing Shadow of the Erdtree, Elden Ring's DLC. Now, before we get into this, if you are super cautious about this DLC, if you're afraid of spoilers or whatever, I'm going to do my best to control the conversation, but some things may come out. So if you're worried about that, just a heads up, because I'm going to let these boys talk about the game. And if you're sensitive, I would just say, just skip ahead. Come back after you play the game or something like that.
Yeah, no story spoilers though. We want to talk about that.
Yeah, no story spoilers. Yeah. So,
but there will be some gameplay talk.
We're obviously going to talk about the game, so some stuff may get brought up.
And I was obviously I'm like the spoiler guy, but I'm also sensitive to spoilers too, right? So like I watched all the previews for Shadow of the Erdtree. So a lot of the stuff I think we're going to talk about is stuff that people already talked about in the preview.
Okay.
So if you've been avoiding those, then I guess avoid this too. But if you've been hearing the previews, then I think this will be pretty safe for you to continue to listen to, because I don't think we're going to explore too much more beyond that, beyond like our impressions and everything. So, and the broader game. But yeah.
So yeah, Gene, let's start with you, man. Shout at the Erdtree. What's going on with this?
Yeah. Miyazaki is a liar.
Surprise.
Yeah.
He always does this shit.
Well, this could be a 30 to 40 hour experience, right? That it could be that. And I actually did hit the final battle in 15 hours. Completely by accident.
Huh? That's still long.
That's still long for DLC, right?
Yeah.
But I still hit the final battle in 15 hours. Could not beat that boss at all, and realized I had to level back up. And we can talk more about the leveling system here.
Yeah, we will.
It's interesting. But I have now played about 60 hours of Shadow to Erdtree.
Wow.
I am trying to do like a completionist style run, so I'm trying to find every single power upgrade. I think I've killed every single boss. Although I say that, and I found like an NPC fight that I never discovered just last night, which is crazy. And I'm still finding new weapons and new areas too. In terms of the world design, I actually think this world is better than The Lands Between because it is smaller. It is. I would say like maybe 60 to 70% the size of the base game. Right?
Wait, Matty, what? It's that big?
Yeah. Wow. Totally.
I thought it was going to be as big as like Limgrave or something like.
I said Miyazaki is a liar. So Miyazaki said, "Oh yeah, the game is about as big as Limgrave." No, it's not. It's not.
No, there's so many sprawling paths. Like I was playing last night, dude, and it really brought back that same feeling that base Elden Ring did, where you just kept going like deeper and deeper. Like there's a whole new world over here. There's a whole new world over here. It was it's fucking unbelievable, dude. It's massive. Sorry, Gene. Please continue.
Yeah. Exactly what Manny said. Like there are hidden areas, and when you find that, you're like, oh my god, there's this whole other part of this map. Holy shit! And you realize how big it is, and you're just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, they do such a good job of like you go through this whole dungeon and then you step out and you get that vista, that view. You know, like when you get out of Limgrave and you finish.
Yeah, you get that Breath of the Wild moment.
Yeah, you step out and you see the whole world. Like they do that like every single biome, and you just see like your kind of North Star for the area. You're like, okay, that's where I'm going. And you look to your right or your left, you're like, that's everything I'm going to go through to get there. It's again unfriggin' believable how big this expansion is. It's worth every penny in my opinion.
It happens a lot, yeah. That step out moment happens a lot where you enter a new area and like I would just like stop touching the controller because I was just like, oh shit, what am I looking at here? You know, like what am I about to face in this area? You know, some of these areas are beautiful, and I don't think Maddie has even gotten to that to find those areas yet.
Yeah, I think you got way more hours than me. I put like 20 some odd hours into it, and I was just texting you last night of an item I was looking for to progress. I've curious what you think, Gene, about the difficulty, because I've found this to definitely be more difficult than base Elden Ring, which I think people will think is really good to hear. They've also changed how progression works a little bit, which I'm very keen to get the public's reception on, because I think it works, but I think some people might find it kind of a little lazy on how they handled progression, but it does make the experience much more difficult. Like I didn't die often in Elden Ring after Limgrave. I die pretty often in Shadow of the Erdtree. It's like, oh shit, they're kicking my ass here. Like this is what it was like, right? Like let's just say Miyazaki took the criticism to heart. He really heard a lot of people saying, yeah, you can power scale and you can level past any boss of the game. It's easy. He's like, oh, okay. Well, here's what happens when we don't let you do that. And they beat the shit out of you, dude. It's crazy. So did you think it was difficult, Gene?
Yes.
You're a higher level than me, so I'm really keen to get your thoughts.
Yeah. So a couple weeks ago, I posted on Twitter, looks like I'm ready for Elden Ring, and my stat screen was level 713. Right. So level 713 is the maximum level in Elden Ring. You can I could literally not be more powerful. Every statistic that I have is at 99. Not even the soft cap, just the hard cap of the game.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, so like I got a bunch of replies like, oh, aren't you worried that you're gonna make the game a little too easy? Don't you worry that you're a little over leveled? And I was like, I'm not worried. And sure enough, I walk into Shadow of Erdtree. I walk to my right. I see the vista, right? You have your step out moment. And I walk to my right. I find a naked man
Yeah, I
wearing nothing but underwear. I hit him once with my level 10 Sword of Night and Flame with my level 713 character, and it's like a little tick. Like
oh shit.
I had the same thing happen.
Barely visible attack. And I was like, oh, he's not wearing any armor. I'm a god. And I hit him and he barely felt it. I was like, okay. And then he smacked me once. And I was like, 75% of my health was gone. And he punched me one more time and I was dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that was an L. Let me go forward. And then you see the fire giant in the distance. And the fire giant literally just kicks a rock at you and you're dead.
Yeah.
This game is going to slap you around no matter what. Do not worry about whether you're over leveled or whatever like that. Don't stress about it. You are not over leveled. There is actually no possible way you can actually be over leveled because all the enemies in this game are scaled to end game, and the game is assuming that you are a demigod already, and you need to work your way back up here, basically.
Yeah, and they give you these new items called. How do you pronounce it? Skidoo trees? Scatter trees? I was like,
Skadooch.
Like, how the fuck do you pronounce it? I don't, because I'm nervous to record my video because I'm like, is it Skadoo tree? I'm like, Skidoo tree? Skidoo sounds a little wrong.
I want
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah. I've been saying Skidoo tree in my head, but I feel like it's got to be Skadoo tree, you know?
Yeah. Right? It sounds like I'm saying shadow, but a little strange, a Skadoo tree, you know? But nonetheless, you get these fragments for those. As you get these fragments, they increase your damage and your defense. And then there are, I think, revered spirit ashes or something like that you'll get. And you can use those to increase your summons, like your ashes of war and like how much damage, how effective they are. So like your mimic tier, for example, is like ineffective when you come in there. So they immediately neuter you. But what Gene said is so true. I DM'd Gene right away when I was playing because I was like, for me, I'm like almost level 200 because I beat Elden Ring twice. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm good. But when I walked in there, one DLC I haven't beat from Software is Old Hunters. Not because it's bad, but when I played it, I was on New Game Plus 4. And when I stepped in there, I got one hit by common enemies and I was doing no damage. I was like, this is actually not balanced in a way that's enjoyable. Like this is... Maybe I could have gotten by. I think nowadays I would have pushed through. But back then I was like, all right, I beat this game like 4 times. I think I can move on. And now again, you know, you move the goalpost, like hoping the remaster comes along and I'll just play it then. Ha 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 ha, he says.
Man, you gotta go back to Old Hunters.
I really want to.
It's better than the base game. Anyways.
Really? Okay, that's saying I
would say so, right?
Their DLCs are often better than the base game.
The DLCs are either often better than the base game or they make the base game better. I think Old Hunters is definitely one where it just makes the base game better because the weapons that you get there.
The weapons in the DLC are so good.
I gotta check that out then so what happened was I thought I was having another Old Hunters moment. Like, fuck, man, I'm on like New Game Plus 2, and I'm walking into this DLC. Like, I power ran through because I had to go kill Moog again. I had to kill Radon again.
And he was getting PTSD for Bloodborne. I
had to go get respecking unlocked again. So like, shit, I might need that. So I like pretty much I speedrun these parts of the game. I'm like, am I supposed to be of a higher level? So I DMG and I'm like, dude, I just got like one hit by like. So I fought the same naked guy, and I'm like, all right. You know what? You're a named enemy. FromSoft is trolling me. I'm going to go straight this time. And this fucking bird flies off a perch. And I'm like, it's a one-on-one common enemy. This dude rinses me too. I'm like,
oh yeah, the bird. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's a regular enemy. It's just a bird on a gravestone. You know,
dude,
just
I wish you guys could have been
the gravestone. Like squares
awesome,
up,
man. Wow.
I wish you could have been a fly on the wall because I got visibly upset. I was like, no, man. Like, I worked so hard to get back here and I show up and I'm just getting fucking bounced. I was so upset. I was like, dude, it's happening again. Thank God Gene was there because I texted him like, dude, I was like, what's happening? And you reassured me like, Matty, it's okay. I'm max level and I'm getting hit around too. I'm like, okay. So let me see what happens here. So I kind of like, it immediately puts you on watch where you're like, where you just gotta be aware, like anything can rinse me right now. And so I found some of those fragments for the Skidoo tree, and I noticed I was doing a little more damage. Yeah. But then I ran into these 2 enemies that they were like these shadow enemies with giant cleavers, and they ruined my day, man. Like I was doing no damage, they rinsed me. I had a bleed build that I originally was a faith build. Then I had a bleed build because after I beat the game, I was like, let me play the game differently, and I followed this fighting cowboy build that he did. With like the occult skin peeler and like just really high.
Oh, sick! Yeah.
Output. Yeah.
Does it have the
damage
black
output.
flame?
Yes.
Asher War. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, I was using like Blood Boon and like Swarm of Flies, that sort of thing. And dude, I was doing no damage. I was like, I think my build kind of like isn't scaling right for this. So I thought to myself, let me go back. So let me go back to basics. Let me go respec, make my faith build again, get old Blasphemous Blade back on my shoulder.
Oh, so good.
Oh, what a game changer that was. I came back and I was like hitting for like double the damage I was before. I was like, yeah, fuck you guys. Like I'm gonna have some fun now. But still, the good news is that I'm still getting pounded out there. I mean, there's some enemies that are really like some of the mob enemies in this game are really challenging. Note how I'm calling it a game, by the way. It's a DLC, but at this point we call it a fucking game. Like it's that big.
So Brad, you didn't know that, but yeah, it's basically a new game. You know, you might as well, you can almost call it as Elden Ring 2 if you're okay with like it being technically smaller.
Yeah. When I saw the price was like $40, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like 30 hours. This game or this DLC will be like 30 hours probably, because they don't fuck around with DLC.
No, they don't, dude. I just, again, I can't speak enough to how I think they responded to the challenge. I'm curious how people will feel about item-based progression, because you do have to go, if you start getting bounced a bit too often, you might feel compelled to go hunt around and get these fragments. And some of them are in areas that, I mean, it puts you back in the old FromSoft formula of like, you're going to work to get that feeling of moving forward. Like you're not going to level up, and you'll still spend souls and everything like that's still there, but your real progression in the Shadow Realm is through these fragments. And you'll see like your stat color will turn yellow, and it'll signify like, here's what your stats are in like the Shadow Realm versus when you're out of there in a completely different map.
Yeah, exactly. So when the upgrades you get in the Shadow Realm will not transfer over to the base game, so that those yellow numbers will revert back to your basic level of attack and defense in the base game. But the Skidoo Tree fragments, and I calculated this, they give you a flat 5% increase in your attack power each time.
Oh wow!
And that stacks. So the higher attack you have, the higher that 5% increase will be.
Well, let me tell you what, that doesn't matter when you fight some of the bosses.
It doesn't. Yeah,
there are some bosses, man. There's one that I was like, just said that they had two swords and they had their way with me for a while. It was
that boss took me a long time.
Yeah,
I was
like
I was
they give
worried
you
I was going to be stuck
summon opportunities if you have the mimic tier with you, and it is a war in there. It is a war in there. There's a couple of bosses I steamrolled, like first try. But there's I like that there were some bosses I really got parked on for a while. There hasn't been this millennia level like, oh, I'm here for a few hours, really working at this one. I've heard that the final boss is that though for this DLC. I'm sure Gene can speak to that some more, but yeah,
1,000%.
Yeah, there's a good challenge here, is what I'll say, which I'm sure people expect from FromSoft, but some folks I think were doubting because of how Elden Ring scales and how it is a little more open to let you power level in and go and take on these bosses a little easily, but that you cannot do that in Shadow of the Erdtree. You indeed have to go back to getting good. That is what happens. What happens here.
That sounds really appealing to me. I love the idea of that. I love the idea of having to work your way back up and this character progression to the DLC. That sounds awesome.
So really there are 20 kind of level zeros you.
Yeah, I love that because I don't really play their games on New Game Plus that often because I like building up the character and it feels more rewarding to me, like progressing them as I go instead of just steamrolling everything as I run through the game, which can be fun for some things, but I love that progression feeling of feeling yourself get stronger. So this sounds really awesome to me. I'm really stoked for that.
So my attack level in the base game was 837. Which is really high, right? For level 713, right?
Yes.
My attack level now at Skidoo level 18. So there are 20 levels of Skidoo that you can have, right? And so I'm at Skidoo level 18, close to the top level. I think 20 is the highest. And now my attack power is at 1600. So okay. Almost 100% increase right there. So if I find every Skidoo tree fragment, it'll probably be a solid 100% increase in damage. So yeah, I'm hitting twice as hard in the DLC now, which is great. And like as Matty said, you need to, because some of these bosses have ridiculous HP pulls. It's ridiculous. Like I'm hitting you for thousands, and it's barely taking.
Yeah, you'll swing and hit for like 1,500 damage, and you'll see like like barely an eighth of the health bar.
Yeah, I did
go away.
1,500 damage to you. That would have melted any boss on the base game. But yeah, they definitely scaled this one up too. So,
Cool.
So much to talk about. So
Yeah. So I'm curious, are there like the catacombs again and this kind of thing, like a side dungeon?
yes. And as Manny said, they did take some of the criticism to heart, because the catacombs in the base game were very cut and paste, right? They definitely reused a lot of assets and the imp statues and a lot of the same bosses. In this one, some of those catacombs do return. I think there's only like 1 or 2 of them, like 3, or like maybe like no more than 5. The rest of the catacombs are unique areas. They all have their own vibe. They all have their own like theme going on. They tell a story that's going on in there. There's unique like puzzles and like mechanics in each one. It's interesting.
Wait, hold on. So do they all not look like the catacombs they did?
No, not anymore.
Okay,
not anymore.
That's very interesting.
They changed it up.
All this, what you guys are telling me, is like it makes sense why it took so long to get this DLC.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Elden Ring just 1.5 now, essentially.
Basically. Yeah.
Cool.
You go into one catacomb and it's like, oh, it's the same one, right? And then you go into another one and it's like, oh, this is completely different. This is just another type of dungeon, maybe, Yeah,
the dungeons are very non-linear too. Like you'll go in and there's one in particular that I don't know if it would qualify as a catacomb, but there's like dungeons in this game that there are so many exits, and these exits lead to completely different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really understand. I don't think people understand just how big this is until you start to get like the map fragments and you realize that I'm trying to think of a good comparison to the base Elden Ring map, but I can't really put a number to it. Like,
no, there isn't. There's if it's a dungeon that I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that was the one. And by the way, that's where the location of the thing you were looking for is.
Yeah, I know. I found that out.
That big dungeon. I don't think there's a dungeon like this anywhere in any FromSoft game. Actually,
wow.
there is a dungeon here that I think might be one of the best dungeons they ever made.
Wow.
And as connected to a new level, because
as Matty said, it is kind of a weird hub dungeon where it connects to different like areas and like it has like regions of its own, So like if you think there's a dungeon where if you think you're done with this dungeon, like you're not even like a third done with it.
Yeah, like you're done with a part of the dungeon, and then when you realize you've hit this wall, like maybe I need an item to get past here, or something's not right here, and you go back to square one. Like let me go to that path to the right, and just where it leads you to a whole different section of the world. It's unbelievable, man. Like it really is it's
an incredible dungeon. It was fascinating. I was looking at this. I was like, holy shit. Like this is like Zelda levels in terms of.
That's a perfect comparison. Yeah. It really is very reminiscent of a Zelda dungeon. Just that non-linear exploration and just staggering scale.
Huge scale. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And the enemies that are in it, like, as we talked about, they hit very hard. So there's a degree of that old feeling that comes back that I really haven't felt since maybe when I first got into Dark Souls 1, where, you get punished real quick by a common enemy and you get sent far back. Like there was one run I had where I'll describe it as people won't like the sound of this, a Scarlet Rot kind of catacomb. And
oh man,
it was, and I had this one grace point and I took my time going through all these enemies. I get to the end and there's some common enemies that may as well have a mini boss health bar. And this dude dusted me and I had to do it all again. And so, yeah, there are some stretches in this game that are very grueling and bring you back to that feeling of like mastering the section of the game.
It does feel like that a little bit. You're right, Matty. I didn't even think about that, but it did kind of bring me back to like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2 times when they were like a little bit less forgiving. It's like, no, you got to figure this area out. Shut the fuck up.
And there's that curiosity because when you go, what we haven't, because we're so used to the Souls-like genre, so what you haven't experienced in so long is just showing up and getting slapped in the face. That hasn't happened in a while, right? Like the last time it happened for me was Bloodborne, because it was a whole new gameplay system from what you do with Dark Souls, right? It rewards your aggression versus shield hugging. And so I remember that first stretch to get to the Bloodstarved Beast. Where's the Bloodstarved Beast? The Cleric Beast, sorry. In Bloodborne. That was, by the way, amazing boss track. It was like my favorite of that game. But that took me like 3 hours to get to because I kept dying over and over and over. And once I learned, I got better. Right. And I was like, then I died way less throughout the course of the game because I adjusted. But I haven't experienced that since. Like, maybe Sekiro a little bit more. That's, definitely a good example from what I've played of it. But I otherwise, as someone who's played like a lot of Souls-like games, don't really remember that feeling. It's like, yeah, I'm seasoned in this. And this game kind of brings you back to the founding grounds of that feeling, that emotion. It's like, oh yeah, these can still be punishing and really gratifying to get through. And so, yeah, Dark Souls 1 energy completely throughout Shadow of the Erdtree, and I really appreciate it for that because I think it adds a really good layer to it. So I really love this DLC. I've been extremely impressed. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's some people's game of the year. Like, it's that good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, totally.
Gene, I'm curious about this. So the way you guys are talking about these gauntlets you're going through, it's from what you're describing, it reminds me a lot of Demon Souls. Of how Demon Souls, it was just like you go through the level and there's the boss at the end and that's it. There is no other checkpoints and stuff like that. But there are shortcuts you can unlock along the way.
There are shortcuts here too.
Is it kind of like that?
There are shortcuts here too, and there are no long boss runs. Like when you actually finally hit the boss, like you're pretty safe.
Oh, okay, so you don't have to like go up.
Yeah. There's no like Dark Souls 2. There is one like area in Dark Souls 2 where you have to hit the boss, like you have to run through the whole thing and then hit the boss. No, I think every boss here just has a regular like set of
like a Stake of America or something.
Yeah,
by it.
Stake of America or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So in that regard, it's not forgiving. But there are areas where it's like, if you don't finish this area, you need to finish this area. Or sometimes there will be no shortcut. Like there was one area last night where I was helping Susie Hunter out with an area, and we were like, there has to be a shortcut back to this place, and we realized there isn't. So we just got to do it a whole long way around again.
Cool.
So,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's just run past these enemies. Let's not fight them. Like, so you have to, like,
that does lead to some.
You have to manage that time and that resource too.
That's that's an older From Software thing, and I'm fine with that coming back at moments. This is the DLC. It's you have to be very far into the game, so I'm fine with them throwing gauntlets like that at you later on. The way you guys are describing this exploration compared to these it's like these two posters behind me. These have my favorite things in gaming, which are exploration and discovery. So I'm like sweating hearing you guys talking about like comparing some to a Zelda dungeon or whatever, dude. It's like, fuck, man. Yeah. This is going to be the shit. Now, I'm really curious about this weapons. Yes. Did you guys fuck around with any of the new weapons? Did you find some that maybe replaced your other weapon that became your main?
Yes.
So tough to replace the Blasphemous Blade, man. I love that weapon so much.
Yeah, to Matty's point, I did use my main weapons, the Sword and Night Flame, throughout most of the DLC. It's the gun that I know how to use. And it's a weapon that I'm used to. But now that I'm mostly done with it, I've now started to play with a bunch of different weapons. And yes, I do have a favorite. So there are 8 new weapon styles, right? My favorite is a light greatsword. Which is basically a great sword, but it's so light that you're just basically fencing and twirling around with it. So you're basically dancing with it. And there's this cool stance called the wing stance. It's an Ashes of War that you can apply to a great sword, a light great sword that isn't like legendary. And it basically like when you hold L2, you'll enter a stance that like sticks your sword out, your sword arm out like that, and you get a whole new moveset in that stance.
Wow,
and it's awesome.
That's really
so I
impressive.
love. Yeah, and you move really slow, so it looks so anime when you're just like holding your sword out like this and your shield out like this, and then you do really fast strikes. So I love that, and also one of the main NPC's weapons that you get towards the end of the game is also a light greatsword, and I've been using that too.
Okay.
And I've also been using fisticuffs, the dry leaf, straight hands, just punching.
Yeah, I saw like you can like kick and stuff a lot now too.
Yep. So
melee combat.
I have a plus 25 dry leaf like set where it basically just combos, and it just that's cool because it's very stagger heavy and it just kind of swarms the enemy, Yeah. Whereas light greatsword, it hits really hard and it hits really fast too. It's just a little unwieldy in terms of like the way the combo strings kind of go. So those are the 2 weapons that I've been using. There's also the Smith's script weapons where you're basically throwing items. You're throwing knives. And
I saw like daggers you're throwing or whatever.
Yeah. And then there are the backhand swords where you hold them like Star Killer
from Force
Jedi.
Unleashed.
It's Force Unleashed, yeah. Force Unleashed 2 specifically.
Oh,
where he's got 2 lightsabers and holding them backwards. Yeah, so you have two like cursed swords and you're holding them backwards too.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And then there are other weapons I haven't really messed with them either. So
there was a twin blade that I really kind of have fallen in love with because there's 2 kind of fighting. What I like about the new weapons is there's like these multiple fighting styles attached to them. So when I'm using my blasphemous blade, I'll admit I got a little shield up, but I also can switch off to my Erdtree seal, and I'll kind of like use that to come in.
Dude, using the shield, Elden Ring's fun.
Yeah, and so I'll flip between the 2. But what's really cool about this sword is that if I put away everything, it becomes 2 blades in my hand, and then if I use like the left trigger, like you can use like, depending on what way you have it equipped, you can use like fire and lightning spells that do some sick AoE shit. And I mean, these weapon abilities are awesome. But what's cool is like it goes into like fencing, and then when you go into like 2 swords, you're like doing a dance.
Oh, is it the boss weapon of the boss that you had a hard time with?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's a lightweight sword.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and then the actual when you remove the shield, then she uses, or you can use 2 swords, and that's a whole other moveset too. So it's kind of like Bloodborne trick weapons, right? Where it's
a little bit, yeah.
There's just a whole other moveset going on.
Beast Claw is cool. Beast Claw is really cool, especially when you use your special ability and you just like fly at the enemy all over the screen and do a wild combo. I mean, there's options here for days. It's really cool. And you know, I would recommend to people listening, like, gather your smithing stones and everything, and your somber smithing stones, like
1,000%.
Everything you can to upgrade these weapons.
Maybe I should do that.
It might be worthwhile just because I spent all of mine on upgrading the twin swords. And the other ones I pick up, I'm like, damn, that looks cool, but like I can't use that right now. I don't have a lot of you get a lot during the DLC, but like you don't get enough to just fully upgrade everything. So just a heads up to anyone who's grinding to get things ready, like maybe farm some good smithing stones and upgrade materials.
You'll get a ton, and the plus 10 or the somber ancient dragon smithing stones and the ancient dragon smithing stones, you'll get a fair bit of them, and there are huge rewards for certain dungeons or killing certain bosses and doing certain runs or whatever. So you'll get a lot, and regular enemies will be dropping smithing stones too. So there's that. But at the same time, as many as I'm getting, I'm still starting to run out, and I'm actually becoming stingy with my smithing stones now, because now I only have 5 somber ancient smithing stones left, so I can only upgrade 5 more special, like, unique legendary weapons, and I want to save that, because there was a weapon I found that's really cool that was like a fake weapon, and it becomes a real weapon. I just love that. I don't want to spoil like how that happens.
That sounds
it's definitely one of the coolest like surprises of the game in terms of like getting this weapon. So fucking cool.
Let's talk about at least just one legacy dungeon. You don't have to say what it is or anything like that, but how was like the layout of some of them you went into? Like, I'm talking like, Stormvale Castle, Volcano Manor, equivalent kind of areas like that.
It's about the same, I think. I think the first legacy dungeon that everyone is going to find is going to be the same one, and it is very similar to Stormvale in terms of how it loops around. There's different areas. The map in this game is very, very vertical, much more vertical than the base Elden Ring map.
Cool.
So when you're finding these areas, when you're in these dungeons, look up and look down like crazy, because like there's probably something that you need to climb up to, or look for a cliff or a weird slope that you can probably jump up to or whatever, or some weird ledge that you need to drop off onto. Look for items that could be down there. That's going to be your clue to find, basically, like, oh, there's a pathway down there if there's something down there. But yeah, these are massive dungeons, and yeah, I'm just talking about the first one. The one the Zelda-like one that we're talking about, that one is like later on.
Cool. Let's get some questions in from readers. Level Wiley wrote in, now that it's finally here, where does Shadow of the Erdtree rank among other From Software DLCs? Are the bosses as memorable as the Old Hunters and the Ring City? Did the breadth and depth meet your expectations? Thanks, and keep summoning that sign, gentlemen. All right, where are you ranking this DLC? I know it's still fresh in your brain, so you haven't let it sit and cool off yet. But how are you feeling?
Yeah, this is a great question. I would still say Old Hunters is better.
Okay.
Because Old Hunters was just like, there's a lot of great story moments here too, right? But I feel like the story moments in Old Hunters kind of hit like really, just really hit you in the face like super hard. It's just hard to deny. And the weapons, the level of weapons that you get in Old Hunters, like the Moonlight Greatsword, and honestly, just the Moonlight Greatsword itself, made the whole game, and everything around Ludwig and everything like that, which is fantastic. So I think Old Hunters is still the top one, but I would easily put this as number 2. And arguably number 1 too, because it has more content. It does have a cool story, and it does pay off. It does answer like some of the bigger mysteries in the base game. Even mysteries that we had since the very first trailer that they showed, you know. So it's very clear that this story was planned out, and I think Miyazaki has said that this was like content that was planned for the Elden Ring, and they decided that they just couldn't fit it in, so they sliced it out for the Realm of Shadow. But yeah, I would say it's up there. The Ring of City is Dark Souls 3, right? I was actually a big fan of that one. I know that's a fan favorite and people love that, but it wasn't my favorite. So I don't know. I would still count Dark Souls 1 Artorias as number 3, because it's still the one that set everything. You know, it's the DLC that started it all, right?
Yeah.
And so much of Artorias has bled into like the main series, like Artorias' moveset, you know, the pacing of that DLC. So I think that's still number 3. Number 4, I think, is Dark Souls 2, Skull of the First Sin, and everything that set of 3 DLCs that we got. You know.
Yeah,
I thought that show was awesome.
Yeah, they're better than the main game. That's
yeah,
for sure.
and they were better than the main game too, right? They were yet another example. And then Ring and City, I think, is my least favorite one, because I thought those fucking angels with the lasers were bullshit.
Fair enough. Maddie, how would you rank it so far? Obviously, you haven't done all of them yet, but
that's the problem with
that's right. You haven't done all 100s yet.
Is that I've only done the Dark Souls 1 DLC. I never played much of Dark Souls 3. Honestly, that was a miss for me. I did all of the Dark Souls 2 DLC. Bless my soul. Old Hunters obviously made me tap, and so I don't really know if I'm qualified to answer this, but on the scale of just someone who's played all the FromSoft games, I think Shadow of the Erdtree could actually be someone's favorite part of a FromSoft experience, is how I would answer it. Like, it really adds a lot. So yeah, just again, I don't want to overspeak just because I don't think I'm fully qualified to it, but did its breadth and depth meet my expectations? I think it exceeded it, frankly. I think I stayed in the dark because I just think FromSoft is a just trust me, bro developer. It's like, I don't need need to watch and read all the previews. I just need to know you're making something, and I'll be there because you've earned every single penny from me, and I can blind buy for you guys. So I didn't really have expectations other than what I hear about the DLC, which is like, this is high quality stuff, sometimes better in the base game. And that's why I think its scale really knocked me on my ass, because I was thinking like, damn, dude, like they practically made a whole new game within this. You know, it's so
the scale of this must be really crazy for you, especially especially in
how would you compare this? You just see all the different places you can go.
And that's such a small area. They do
and I'm just like, this is insane just to look at, and then you realize like that's one small piece of a very big puzzle.
Here's a question, Matty, for you. How would you compare this to Bethesda DLCs? The breadth and scale of Bethesda DLCs, which are also huge, you know. And I would argue that Bethesda also set the playing field in terms of, you know, what Oblivion did with what was it called?
Shivering Isles.
Sheogorath, right? That DLC, right? I felt like that DLC was like the standard bearer in terms of like what an RPG DLC could look like. And then Dark Souls came along and kind of changed that game too. So yeah, how would you compare this to Bethesda?
I would say, it's number one, way bigger than anything Bethesda has historically done. I think, that Shivering Isles still stands as like the biggest thing in DLC they've
Shivering
done.
Isles, that's what it's called,
Yeah, because they usually go with Bethesda. I noticed they just go more compact. Like they just kind of squeeze things down the DLC. Like we just learned with Shattered Space when I talked to Todd. He was just like, yeah, we're doing it like in one area, more like a traditional Bethesda game. Like they did it, you know, Fallout 4 is this big wide shooter game, and then Far Harbor, they're like, let's bring it into a hardcore RPG. Like, so I think personally, like Elden Ring, if you were to scale it to any of Bethesda's DLCs in the last like 15 years, like it just kind of blows it out of the water in the terms of scale. Like it's really not.
It's like they just made another Fallout game.
Yeah, it's really not close.
It's like it's following Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas, maybe, right?
Yeah. Like, okay, let's just say it's justified why people have moved their release dates from DLC. Usually you see like, dude, it's DLC, come on. But when you have over 20 million install base for Elden Ring, like, you know, 20 million people have bought this game, and you deliver something this big, this literally is like another FromSoft game. It's so that's why, like, yeah, in the terms of scale and scope and breadth, like it exceeds my expectations. And for my experience with DLC, I typically prefer the compact DLC. I won't lie. Like, I love what BioShock Infinite did. That stands out as one of my like favorite Bureaued Sea Part 2. It's like 6 hours, play the game a little differently, you know, finish up the story and get out of there. Yeah, I love how Far Harbor does it. Like you spend like 20 hours here and then go on and get out of here, that sort of thing. The way that FromSoft builds their DLC, from my experience at least, you know, like Dark Souls 2 being the extent, the massive part of my experience, is like they kick the shit out of you, and some of these places are massive. And I know that was less Miyazaki on Dark Souls 2, so it's not really a good measuring stick, but wish out of the Erdtree again. Just can't say enough about the quality, which I know people have come to expect, but let's just say there's no worry that they will be resting on their laurels after such a massive success like Elden Ring. And I love, in fact, that they decided, let's double down and like beat the hell out of this audience now. I love that they decided to do that.
Excellent.
They did.
All right. Ryan Gerson wrote in, howdy to the world's best Asian and Caucasian combo. Read in a Jamaican accent for added flair. Nah, that's right. Straight up, has Miyazaki and co. misled us about just how massive Shadow of the Erdtree is? It's their MO to do so with every release, so I have expectations that this DLC will be huge. Did they recapture the glory and majesty of the first trek through the lands between? Thanks for all you do. Well, it sounds like this is a massive DLC, so once again, Miyazaki lying, as always, lying Miyazaki. Yeah. But he's someone I'm happy that lies about stuff, you know? It's not Lion Phil or anything like that. We got Lion Miyazaki.
Lying Peter Molyneux. Yeah, there's good kinds of lies.
Keep lying to me, Miyazaki. It's fun. Yeah, I like it.
Under promise, over deliver is what he's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, again, to be fair, yeah, you can beat this game in 30 hours. I did hit the last boss in 15 hours, but I could not beat them at all. So I had to back out. To Manny's point about the progression system. Like I just hit it way too early, and I just had to back out, and I had to like be okay. I guess I had to explore the world more. So these Erdtree fragments are basically there to incentivize exploration. You know, you have to find more of the world if you want to get stronger, and that includes unlocking more of the story. So I think that's the brilliant thing about this DLC is that it's very, very like story heavy. So finding a new place means advancing the story. If you don't unlock the full map, then you're literally not gonna get the whole picture of what's going on and why. Because the DLC is asking two questions, right? And this is all in the previews, and not a spoiler. It's asking, what was Miquella doing here, and how did Marika start the whole thing?
Yeah.
And so basically, the answer, the DLC is about finding those answers, and the NPCs have those questions too. They're like, what was Miquella doing here? And it's fun to try to figure that out. And Miquella is always like, Miquella was a fascinating character from the base game that we never saw.
Cool. All right, boys. That's it for Elden Ring. It is soon.
Oh yes, and to confirm, there is a boss here that is very, very hard. I won't say which one, but this boss took me 4 days to beat. 4 days to beat. That is more than any other FromSoft. The more time that I've ever taken than any other FromSoft boss, including Sword Saint Ishin from Dark Souls or Sekiro. Took me 3 days to beat him. Took so long that I ended up hating Sekiro. Obviously, I think Sekiro is a wonderful game and wonderful, but I hate it. I hate it because
that's my favorite boss fight of all time.
Really,
Yeah.
it's a great boss fight. Don't get me wrong, but it got me so mad.
It's a gauntlet. It is.
Three phases, bro. Yeah, Come on, man, that was crazy. It took me 3 days to beat it, and somehow it still took me longer to beat this boss. And I don't know if it was harder. It's really hard to tell, but I will say that this was the first time since Sword State Ishin where I dropped the controller and I was literally trembling and shaking. And I was like, oh my fucking god! I was like, I did it. And so I had to like sit there and just like breathe and just like remember to like breathe and like I'm alive and like I made it through. So yeah, there's that boss. And Millennia also took me 3 days too. So it really does feel like if Millennia and Ishin are kind of like on the same scale of like difficulty, I think a lot of people do agree. Then I think they easily match this with this boss too. So
cool,
ridiculous. Another reviewer was saying, I don't even know how my PS5 is still running with some of these attacks that are happening to me. It's ridiculous. And then like some of these fights, like you won't last more than like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know? Again, I'm level 713. I walk in. I can't even summon the mimic tier.
Yeah,
because the boss is already in your face.
Yeah. The boss will like. There's so many bosses that I just step through the mist. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna ring my bell. Nope, he just dive bombs me right away. I'm like, yeah, I'm dead. That's it. So they don't let you get comfortable in this DLC. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think that's part of the challenge is that they know that people will summon mimic tier like right away. So like some of these bosses just have like we'll just gank you like right away. And it's like no, like if you want to summon, you better fucking figure out when to do it. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really fun stuff.
All right, yeah. The rest of us won't have to wait that much longer. It's coming out soon. I'm going to lose my life to this game, and I'm okay with that.
No life it.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing.
All right. Let's talk about what I've been playing. Completely different tonal shift here. Sly Cooper in the Thievious Racoonus.
He's
back. Now, if you're unaware, this is Sucker Punch's PS2 platformer. This was... During the PS2, there was like the big three on PlayStation of platformers. There was Sly Cooper, there was Ratchet and Clank, and of course, Jack and Daxter. Mm-hmm. Now, I was always in the Sly camp. I chose Sly over them. I've only played Jack 1, actually, and that was pretty recent, or a couple years ago I beat it. Cool game. Ratchet and Clank, there's a ton of Ratchet and Clank games. Everyone knows that. But Sly Cooper always appealed to me the most. I always loved this idea of being a little thief raccoon.
Yeah.
I love the comic book style, the cutscenes, everything. I actually really like the characters a lot in this series. So it got released on PS5 and PS4, the PS2 classics. They're back now, actually, so which is good. And this came with a brand new trophy list, which I did appreciate because it's different than the PS3 collection, the Sly collection. This trophy list is much more interesting to do, I would say, than that past one. A lot more fun challenges. So, yeah, Sly Cooper, you play as Sly Cooper, obviously. You got your group of thieves with you, your pals, Bentley, who is a turtle. He's like the computer guy that handles all that stuff, the hacking. And you got Murray, who's kind of the muscle. Not so much in this game. In the later games, he's more of the muscle, but he's like the driver in this game. So basically, the whole game is you come from a long line of thieves, or Sly does, and they had this book called the Thievious Racoonus, which was passed down through the family with a bunch of thief techniques. But however, when Sly was very young, his father was killed by this group, and they all took pages from the Thievious Racoonus. So now the whole point of the game is you tracking down these guys, these big baddies that stole your pages from the Thievious Racoonus to learn new thief techniques, which come into the game. The game is kind of how it's the game is divided up is very different from the next installments of Sly Cooper 2, or like Sly Cooper like 2, 3, and 4. This one is much more linear, I would say. Mm-hmm. The other ones are like you're in a hub area and it kind of leads up to you doing things to build up to a grand heist at the end. But in this, it's just like you're in a very tiny like hub area for some things, and it's just like you go into different stages, and all the stages are very linear. But they're really fun to go through, actually. I like it. There's like lots of platforming, obviously. sneaking around. You gotta like sometimes you can sneak behind guys, hit them out, or like sliding against the wall, bunch of like little thief things. And what's cool about the levels is there's collectibles, usually these bottles that are clues. And if you collect all the clues in a level, you can crack a safe at a point in the level, and you'll get a new ability to help you with the game. And these are optional, most of them. There's one where you can like throw your hat down like a mine and blow up stuff, or one where you can roll around a lot faster. It is a very simple game. You know, it is a PS2 platformer from the early days. It's not like crazy platforming or anything like that, but it is really fun, really solid. There is some bullshit in the game, I feel like, that doesn't hold up super well. Like one of the boss fights in particular, you like hit mirrors and it like burns his guns. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It feels very out of place in my opinion. And there's a couple tough platforming sections where the checkpoints are brutal. However, on this version, you can rewind if you want to like that. You can make save states, so it's very friendly to get through. But it is a solid platformer. I still think it's a good time. It's one of my least favorite Sly games. I like all the Sly games, but it's one of my least favorite. I think 3 is my least favorite, then maybe this one, but it's still a good time. But Matty, I know you've played Sly Cooper, or you're a fan of the series. Yeah. Tell me about Sly 1, what you remember from it.
Oh man, I mean, I fucking love this series so much. It's like my number one most requested. Please bring it back. PlayStation series. Like God, man, Sly Cooper is so good. Some of the most underrated writing in gaming too, I think. Like just as you get deeper in that story, like Sly 2 hits you hard, man.
Yeah, Sly 2 gets dark at one point. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it really does, man. There's some fucked up shit in this series, but even Sly 1 has that with Ms. Ruby. Like it's like, it's not a fucked up game, but like it reminds me a little bit of like some of the most cleverly written cartoons in that.
Right.
Oh, this has great kid appeal, but for the adults playing it, you see the themes and you see the tone, and you see the atmosphere, and you see some of the things happening. It's just a completely different breed, in my opinion. Like it's what made me fall in love with Sucker Punch and made me want to play all the stuff they do. I remember the platinum trophy for this game being particularly easy on the PS3 collection. They did with the new port, a brand new trophy list, and I thought that was awesome because it's way more difficult too. Way more difficult.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic. I'm excited to go after it. I'm deciding when I want to do it because I already have all the platinums for Sly, and I can't leave this undone. Are you kidding me? So
yeah, I did it too.
I have to go and do that for sure at some point. It's funny, I just last year replayed the first Sly, so I'm gonna just do it again this year and just kind of run through it. But yeah, man, I love the kind of challenge centric nature of Sly 1 in that each level has like a new challenge. Like sometimes it's 3D platforming, sometimes it's racing, sometimes like there's always like a new. I mean, Sly 2 expands on that brilliantly, but there's always like a new kind of.
They throw like little mix-ups like that every now and then. Yeah.
Like, oh, this one's got like security systems. Like, how are you going to stealth through? Oh, this one's got like a ton of guards that are patrolling. Like, how are you going to get through there? And like each biome has a set of missions that you go through. That's where you find all the clue bottles and all the new abilities. Like, it has a really good progression. And again, like a lot of the skeleton that makes Sly 2 one of my favorite top 5 video game of all time for me is all found in Sly 1. Like, you know, you have these hub areas that go to missions, but Sly 2 has that, but like it's bigger, it's better looking. I mean, the scale is just so impressive for its time, and you steal stuff and bring it back to your base. All the characters are playable, but Sly 1 is just focused really on Sly himself, and I think the opening is really what hooks you. Like, I think when you see that kind of animation and you learn about the Fiendish Five, it's like, damn, man, this is fucking tragic. Like, this dude's just not like, oh, he's an orphan. It's like, no, like the reason he has become orphaned is horrible, and like Sly is vengeful, and like he is like angry throughout a lot of Sly 1, and that's very interesting because his whole demeanor is like cool, calm, collected. Like, at least that's the vibe you get from him. But he's on like a path of vengeance in the first Sly Cooper, and I always found that really fascinating when you go back to it. So yeah, I think the story's aged pretty gracefully, but the gameplay, it's very Crash Bandicoot inspired, like the camera following directly behind the character and they kind of move with you throughout the level. There's no real going back, only forward.
You don't really have to go back unless you just want to get clues you missed or something.
Yeah, but I also mean like literally in the exploration, like you're not going to be doubling back on any levels. It's always go straight. You know, like you're always going to go straight. And seldom times do you even like get into a room and like navigate it a creative way. Like you're always going forward, knocking things over, jumping left, right, like, but you're always going forward. So you can see the influence of Crash Bandicoot here for sure. And then it really became its own thing with 2. But yeah, I love these games so much. And I recommend anyone listening, go play Sly 1.
Yeah, it's really fun just visiting all the different biomes, like you said, and all the fiends and their whole like base or whatever like that. I really like one of them early on's in the Bermuda, I think, triangle area, stormy waves and everything like that. The second one's in Utah and like a city that's been run down and abandoned, which is really fun. There's a sick casino level in there, which I really like.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sly 1's a good time, man. I'd recommend it. It's like $10 too. Also, it's very cheap.
Yeah.
So I could easily recommend it. It's got some rough edges, but it's a good time, especially if you liked those old PS2 era platformers. I'd recommend it. Nelson Chapman wrote in, "What's up, guys? Brad, Sly Cooper is a game I never played, and it's a game that I'm somewhat interested in. Is the game good enough to play now if there isn't any nostalgia to carry it? Love the show." This is always a weird question for me when people ask if it's good enough, even without any nostalgia, because I don't even know what the hell that means. But I think it's solid. What does that mean? You know, I think it's solid and fun.
That nostalgia is the only way you can enjoy old stuff. No, you can just enjoy old stuff for what they are.
Well, it's like, do you overlook the flaws of the game because you have good memories with it as a kid?
Sure, yeah, like the rose tinted glasses, right?
Yeah,
but I think there's a fun platform.
Which is what Dustin accuses us of doing to Eco. You know,
yes.
So, get him again.
Yeah, but I think there's a fun game here, and it's made even more manageable for modern audiences, I'd say, with features like rewind and save states. So if a lot of the tougher parts bother you, it'll make it way smoother. Yeah, it's a good time. You should check it out.
I'm just excited for what PlayStation's going to do next, right? There's like with the whole PS2 Classics trophy support and kind of having that framework of like rewind and enhancements, controller adjustments. I'm like, okay, we got to figure out PS3 now. Like, what PS2 games are we going to bring?
That's the exciting thing. Yeah,
are the floodgates open tomorrow? Tomorrow's Daxter, and I'm like,
oh yeah, that is cool.
Trophy support.
That's right. Yeah, are the floodgates open? Yeah, is it finally happening? You know,
get me in there, man. Let's go. I'll be playing no new games now. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'll just be playing Ratchet and Clank up your arsenal. Because you were talking about like, you know, it is interesting that there were 3 mascots like vying for attention in PlayStation's sphere for a little bit, and we all had our own like preferences. Because like, you were a Sly Cooper guy, and I was a Ratchet and Clank guy, like 1,000%. I was like Ratchet and Clank all the way because I was a Halo dude too. So Ratchet and Clank reminded me the most of Halo.
Oh yeah, crazy weapons and all that stuff.
Yeah, crazy weapons and you know, the shooting mechanics eventually became like a standard third-person shooter. You know. So,
This is from John Barnett. What's up, Summon 41? I'm so stoked that Sly Cooper's back on PS5. Being able to play this game natively with a new trophy list is exactly what I wanted. I hope we see this treatment for the rest of the Sly games. -4, they can keep that one.
Oh, come on,
dude. Come on, man. Sly 4 is very good.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I get so tired of this shit, man. I'm sorry, John. I'm soloing you out. What the fuck
is this narrative?
Sly 4, man? Thieves in Time is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's very good.
It's so good, man.
It was my second favorite Sly behind 2.
Yeah, it's so good. Sorry, please continue, Brad.
Hold on. Let's light him up a little more, Matty.
Okay.
Metascore 75 from review critics. I saw Colin gave this game, I think, a 8 when he reviewed it. User score 497 reviews, 8.2.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this narrative's coming from.
Yeah, I see it way too often. Like, it ruined the series. I'm like, look, I get
ruined the series. Come on, guys.
I get that. I'll just say when it ends, you're like, oh man, you know, like someone's got to do a Sly 5. They were apparently setting up DLC, and Saint Zaru got bought by Meta, so that'll never happen. But
thanks, Mark.
Yeah, you know, thank you, Mark, for ruining our hopes and dreams. But I just think like being able to play is okay. So when you look at the Thievious Racoonus in this game, you learn all these techniques from all these different members of the ancestry from Sly's family. And then Thieves in Time is like, you get to meet them and play as. I'm like, it's so fucking cool. Like, if you actually played this series, it's so cool. So, John, keep your takes to yourself, bro. Right? we don't want to hear that shit anymore.
Yeah. We know Shuhei Yoshida is heading PlayStation's indie charge. So my question is this: if Sony wants third parties to make interesting indie games like Chia or Fist, should Shuhei also be on the lookout for other teams that can make new games within PlayStation's dormant IP? I'm wary of other developers tackling Sly, Ratchet, and Jack since I haven't liked most of these spin-offs made by other developers. But I also think this could be a great way for Sony to get smaller budget games that really pop. What say you all? And keep up the great work. I mean, I don't think any of the original developers of these games are going to be working on these games anytime soon. Like Sucker Punch is not going to be doing Sly anytime soon if they do. Naughty Dog's not doing Jack and Daxter. Insomniac, though, they do Ratchet every now and then. I'm sure we'll get more Ratchet games, but I'm not opposed to handing it off to other developers as long as it's good. Like, I thought Sanzaro did a very good job. I think Ready at Dawn did a great job with like God of War on PSP. Those two games were really good PSP games. So
yeah,
I'm definitely not opposed to it. I just don't know if Sony sees the value in a lot of these IPs. I'm not sure nowadays, which is sad, but
knowing PlayStation nowadays, they'd remake them. And
yes,
I think that wouldn't be the worst thing. Like the Ratchet 2016 reboot was fucking amazing. That's one of my favorite Ratchet and Clank games. Like I just think I played that and beat that 3 times, got the platinum for it. Like that's an amazing game. Like if the PlayStation came out and announced like, oh, we're gonna have Blue Point remake Sly Cooper, it's like, okay, absolutely, sign me up. Or Jack, like bringing some of the gameplay systems from Jack and Daxter, or Jack 2 and 3 into Jack 1, and kind of just evolving it from just being a 3D platformer. It's like, yeah, go for it. Like I would love to see them activate these because I think that the new PlayStation IP are phenomenal. It's just I don't think they needed to come at the sacrifice of the things that got them there, which are like these 3D mascots. And Astrobot's like a sign that people are very enthusiastic about a PlayStation exclusive 3D platformer. So they could just bring back these games in their completely original spirit, and I think they'd make some noise. I think Sly, if you were to ask me, I think Sly would make the most noise. It just seems like there is a growing desire. Like anytime there's a Sly rumor, it just pops off because people want Sly to come back. I know Ratchet's very proven, but I don't know. I found Ratchet's last outing kind of underwhelming. Like I didn't think they made good use of Rivet. Yeah, I didn't like. I thought Rivet was supposed to be.
I could see that. Yeah,
gameplay system or feel, and it just it didn't gel with me well. And I thought it was a very beautiful game, but I always say that some people are like, "Oh, this is like the Pixar game," and I'm like, "No, I always say that year was Psychonauts 2. I thought that was like the Pixar style game, like the way it was animated, the character interaction, the charm. I felt like some of that was lost. And I don't say that lightly because I love Ratchet and Clank. I can't think of, outside of probably Secret Agent Clank, I can't think of a Ratchet themed game that I disliked. But I just, to my original point, like if they brought them back, I think they would do it in remakes just because that seems to be what PlayStation's doing nowadays. They just,
especially because
in safe ways.
It's been a while since PS2.
Yeah, I
There's
don't
probably
think
a whole other audience that hasn't played them.
Well, I mean, Sony's issue is that until recently, they and Ratchet and Clank is the only IP that they've nurtured past like a generation or two.
Yeah,
that's it. Uncharted is the only time where PlayStation learned, oh, we can continue an IP to the PlayStation 4. Let's make Uncharted 4, as opposed to like just fucking giving up on IP and just moving on to the next thing,
Yeah.
And Ratchet and Clank is the only one that stayed to PS2, PS3, and PS4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sony is I mean, I keep bringing up this point on Twitter, but Sony has an issue where they have not been able to produce multi-generational IP. So that's why they're trying with Horizon now.
Well, Sly, I guess, or sorry, Astrobot is a good sign of those things. That started on PSVR, which is like PlayStation 4. Astrobot's carrying on to 5, so it seems like Astrobot's finally getting the attention he deserves. I mean, of course, people love Playroom, but it was just like a smaller kind of experience. But now we're getting like a full game, so hopefully we'll see more stuff like this from Sony. That'd be great.
Yeah, but to the original question's point, like that's a great idea. I think it would be a great way to support like indie in like smaller studios. It's just a matter of in terms of Sony, just a matter of making sure that those games are at a very, very high quality. That these are going to be hits, and they're going to be critical hits, as opposed to like Secret Agent Clank style games, like spin-offs or whatever.
Yeah.
Also to Matty's point, like these IP have been dormant for so long, so they might have to go the Gears E-Day route. Remind people who Marcus and Dom is of Jack and Daxter.
It's been so long. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Totally. All right, Matty. Let's talk about Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. Now, I played the original like 30 hours when it came out on Switch. But now we got a new version that's not on Switch, thank God. Because, boy, was that a Switch ass game when I played it there. I was like, I really wish this was on something else when I played it.
I get it.
But it's back now with some new content, a lot of new content, I believe, actually, and some changes. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so this is, think of for those of you out there who like Persona, like, you know, you have Persona 5 and 5 Royal, you have 4 Golden. Like, this is Atlas doing Atlas-ass thing. So this SMT5 game releases in 2021. For me, it was a top 2 game of the year. It was at the number 2 spot. I loved the first SMT5. I'm not like a diehard SMT fan, but SMT5 really took a lot of the style and flair and personality that you find in Persona. I think brought some of that in while staying very truthful and honest with what makes an SMT game. SMT as in like gritty, difficult, gritty tone, really like a focus on the demons and in its storyline, that sort of thing. And so Vengeance is the re-release all these years later, and it boasts a brand new storyline called The Canon of Vengeance. It introduces new demons. It has a ton of quality of life enhancements. And before I go further, I should just say that I don't think it matters, but still, I always like to be clear. I did do a sponsored video for this to talk about SMT5 Vengeance, but I already had the original game in my top 2 3 years ago. So, I mean, you take it as you will, but just to be transparent with the audience. But for me, I already knew I loved SMT5. So, yeah, easy bag, to be frank. So, SMT5 Vengeance rolls through, and the new story here introduces the character Yoko Hiromine. She is a student at the Saint something academy, and she's got a special kind of ability that she's nurtured at this academy, and there's something up with her because, like, right when you start the game, there's a choice you make. Like, it says take her hand or don't take her hand. This is brand new, and this decides what path you're going, and they'll let you know, like, you're about to pick the Canon of Creation storyline. That is the base game story. That's the OG story that's still available in Vengeance. You can do that, but I would recommend Vengeance because I couldn't find the quote. I was trying to find it for my video. I couldn't find it, but I could have sworn there was a quote out there of the game's director saying that they didn't like SMT5 story much and that this is like what they wanted to tell originally. And like, they're very happy with it. I can't find that quote, so don't put that in ink or anything, but I would say go with Vengeance because it seems very much like what the director intent was. For those who don't remember, SMT5 was announced with the Switch reveal it was called like New Project Shin Megami Tensei. And then it became SMT5, and it was gone for a while. Maybe people thought it was going to be a disaster, and it comes out, it was actually really good. But part of the reason it took so long was because of the story. There were so many disagreements and infighting that led to SMT5's delay. So Vengeance, you pick the story. It'll let you know which one you're about to pick, so don't worry about making a mistake there. Pick Canon of Vengeance if you want to experience the new stuff. And what you'll notice if you've played SMT5 before is like the story opens up, and a lot of it's like the same beats. Like you start off in this kind of desert open world environment. You're like, okay, now you move forward, and all of a sudden Yoko appears, and now you start to see some new scenes within the areas you've been. Eventually there is like a hard break, and it's like, now we're going a completely different path. But if you've played SMT before, as I mentioned in my video, you'll note some similarities. It does follow some of the same trajectory, some of the same path, but it does introduce like a whole brand new zone, a whole new area. Like it does have a hard break eventually, but if SMT5 is still really fresh in your mind, like just be aware of that is what I'd say. I don't think it ruins anything because I love SMT5, but just be aware that there might be some familiarity even with the new story beats. Like you're still going to be running through similar environments. But some of the things that I think make it more enjoyable are things like the quality of life enhancements. Like you'll like run through and you'll find this thing called like a Magatsui rail. And so what that is it's like a red portal. And when you step on it, you literally Sonic Adventure 2 grind your way to a new level of the environment. And that's really cool because they've placed it in not only areas that are really convenient, like, oh, I need to get back to the save point, ride it back, but also like it unlocks new exploration opportunities. You'll go to new side quests this way. They've kind of opened up the map in a big manner. Because Yoko is such a big part of the game, you'll have more human characters in your party. So normally this was like the OG Pokemon is what I always say. Like, I don't think you know that, but like when you think of monster catching games, like it wasn't Pokemon who did it first. Pokemon got their idea from SMT. SMT was about catching demons and putting them in your party, and they kind of fight for you. And what's different in SMT5 is now, and they have moments in SMT, I'll just say, I don't want to specify when, but they have moments in SMT where like humans join the party and fight alongside you. Just because I have a limited SMT experience, and the one in particular I'm thinking of would be a spoiler, but SMT5 didn't really have that. You would just fight with your creatures that you built up over time, like your Pokemon squad, if you will. But this one, like Yoko joins your party and she fights with you like the whole fucking time, dude. It's cool as hell.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, you get like human party members that join you, and they're temporary, but it's a very isolated kind of game, like very post-apocalyptic vibe. And so what's really cool about traveling with someone is you get more like conversational opportunities, more interaction. It feels a little less lonely, which I think is cool. A little less, maybe for some people, a little less aimless. And then they also have this new thing called the Demon Haunt. So you'll go to this kind of camp out and you'll hang out with the demons and like talk to them. Again, kind of borrowing some ideas from Persona. I wouldn't call this like a social system by any stretch. That's a huge exaggeration, but it might remind you of that feeling. Like you'll sit down and you'll talk with Aogami. And when you sit down and talk with them, you'll reflect on what's happened in the story thus far and you'll level up. So you may have noticed for a game series that's extremely hard, a lot of these quality of life enhancements do make things a little easier. So just keep that in mind. If you're worried about SMT being difficult, I think it still is. I still had a moment fighting a boss where I was cruising, I was comfortable, and then he got one crit, which turned into 2 crits, and they ended up 4 attacks off in total. And I went from max health to everyone to 2 party members down, and everyone else 1 hit. And immediately that changes. Like you sit up in your chair a little bit because you know you're about to be fucked up. And you're about to lose all that progress. So, and by the way, still playing on casual difficulty. Like SMT's casual difficulty is most games hard. I always
yes, it is.
And the reason I play on casual, I don't think it merits much of an explanation. But for those who are curious, SMT will do that to you, where like the enemies have the same rules as you. So if I hit an enemy for a weakness for a crit, it's like I get another attack. But you obviously hit significantly weaker than your bosses. So when you're playing on a higher difficulty in SMT and they hit you, they have that same rules like I mentioned. So let's say they crit me by luck. They hit you already really hard, harder than you'll ever hit them. And then they'll hit you again and again and again. And at that point, it's like the game bullies you a lot. And some people I always say SMT is like turn-based for masochists. Like if you want that, this game will deliver it. For me, I like a nice, healthy challenge. So the casual difficulty is right in that pocket that I enjoy. But this game will still, even with the quality of life enhancements, even the demons you fuse, it will still beat the hell out of you, which seems to be a theme of this episode. It will still kick your ass. And so it's got a new story, new quality of life enhancements, new party members, all that, new demons. It's really good. I really love it. And so I went obviously ready to play this game until I'm finishing this playthrough. I'm really excited about it. And if it's as good as SMT5 in its base form, I will probably end up this will end up cracking my game of the year list somewhere. Atlas just doesn't miss, in my opinion. They're another Trust Me Bro developer where it's like, yep, making a game, cool, see you there. And as someone who's not a massive SMT fan, I would say that more so because of lack of experience, not because it's bad. I will just say that I think SMT5 is worth the dive for those who are curious about the series and want to get in, because most people know and have experienced Persona who listen to our shows, I'd say. And SMT might be a little bit of a foreign area for them. Like they're really unsure what that is. And I think this game borrows the most from Persona, but still stay SMT, so you know what that is. But there's some familiar stuff here that makes you feel a little more comfortable. So yeah. Vengeance is fantastic. I really like it.
As someone who played just the base version of the game, I'm just letting you people know, if you've played Persona and you play SMT, like a proper SMT, it's much more combat focused.
Yeah.
It's like combat is like the main thing of the game. Like there's some story stuff, and I'm really glad they added more, it sounds like, for me, Matty, because I don't think there was enough going on in the game for me outside of combat to keep me going forward from a narrative point of view.
Yeah.
And like I thought the exploration was just whatever in the base game. It's been a while since I've played it, but
because you know what it reminds me of a little bit, when you like, it reminds me a bit of Zelda in that you'll find like the
I did not think that at all.
I know, because I know it'll be sacrilege to you, but you'll find like the Karoks out in the environment. Like this game has their own version of that, and you'll get upgrades through that. Like I think the upgrade loop is really good in SMT5, but
the upgrade loop's good. Yeah, totally. I just think what's cool about SMT is like when you get upgrades for you like really feel it. You're like always want that shit in these games, especially if you play on the harder difficulties. And like Maddie said, like I remember playing Nocturne and some of this. It's just like, well, I missed and I got crit. It's fucking over.
Yeah, that's it.
It's over. Yeah, it's just like shit like can change like on that flip of a hat, dude. It's insane how rough shit can get really fast. Yeah. But it is really cool if you like those kind of challenges. It's great. But this sounds like a much superior version to me of the base game.
Yeah, so there's nice. Just if you were kind of on the fence waiting, or you didn't get a chance to play SMT5, there's no reason you should pick up the base game. Like, get Vengeance. Yeah. You know, it's definitely. I mean, the base game is still there, so you're not missing out on that. If anything, if you want to do 2 playthroughs of this game, not only do you get multiple endings for both these games, but you have 2 full stories here, so you have like over 150 hours of content just sitting here. If you really want your money's worth. Yeah, you absolutely are getting massive bang for your buck. I will say though, I don't envision many people getting all of that out of the game, because SMT is very taxing in that, like, these games take a lot of focus, a lot of strategizing, and you know, you're gonna, once you're done, you're probably gonna want to be like, okay, let's move on to something a little easier. Right now I'm in my masochist bag, right, between Shadow of the Erdtree and SMT5 Vengeance, where it's like, all right, I think I can handle some of the abuse here, but you know, afterwards I might be looking for a nice, simple, cozy action game or something. Maybe that'll be a good time to strike with Final Fantasy 14, right? Just, you know,
yeah.
It's something a little simpler under my belt.
SMT game proper ones are a struggle, but they are very rewarding, and the combat's deep enough where you will enjoy it throughout. And like Matty said, you know, catching new demons is really fun and stuff like that. Yeah, all the skills, it's really cool. You can do really cool stuff in the game, but yeah, it's just like it's a pretty steep learning curve for JRPG, I'd say. If you play in the hard difficulties, at least. Yeah. Just
even normal. It's like they will fool you. Be like, normal. They're like for I think, what did they define it as in the game? They're like, for those who have played turn-based before. I'm like, I have played turn-based games my whole life. You're out of your fucking mind if you think this is normal, dude.
Yeah. SMT are definitely like the hardest turn-based games I've ever played. So
100%.
Let's see. Neo JD wrote in, Matty, I bought the original SMT5 for Switch a while back, but never got around to playing it. Is Vengeance a big enough improvement that I should play that instead, or am I fine with the original? Also, which is easier? Well, Matty, based off what you said, I would say this seems like the definitive way to play the game.
Yeah, this is the definitive way to play it, and I would say it's easier because you're leveling up more consistently. Like I said, like when you're hanging out with Algami, you know, this happens frequently, and like you'll get like straight up, you leveled up. Here's a bunch of stat points. Like, go ahead and allocate them, and so it's easier to like max out your character stats pretty immediately, comparatively speaking, because you know you're leveling up just by fighting and completing side quests. There's more side quests, so now you can power level a little bit easier as well. So not only that, you get like new stories. Like, there's a lot of reasons to, I think, get SMT5 Vengeance especially if you haven't played the original. But yeah, it is technically easier in that you can level up and get better demons quicker and maybe overcome the challenges a little better. But there is still that early game ass whooping that SMT is very known for, because, you know, when you're like in your level 10 to 15 stretch, it's just like, yeah, man, like there's nothing you can do. You're just at the game's mercy there. Like, you just gotta grit your teeth and bear it. But as you get deeper in the game, you level up, more options open up, and you can power up pretty quickly, at least for your main character, who I'm pretty sure SMT
Nanabino.
The Nahabino. Young man.
Okay. Young man. Yeah.
So I forgot about that when I fired up. He's like, young man. I'm like, holy shit, they say it's like every 5 steps. It's so good. Yeah, definitely Neo, if you're looking at just getting SMT5 under your belt, whether you're looking for the improvements or easy, it's never going to be easy, but it's easier here on Vengeance for sure.
Yeah, I'm just like Neo too. I also bought SMT5 because I had never got into the SMT series. I also got into the Persona series late. I started in Persona 4. So I figured, I should try SMT5, and I just never even touched it. And then now that Vengeance is out, I actually booted up the original one just to see. And it's number one is a very Switch as hell Switch game. So I'm actually having Vengeance delivered to me today. It's
nice.
Should be coming in the mail. Excited for it. But I do have a question actually. So you said, Matty, and forgive me if you already answered this question. But you said, Matty, that the original game is in the game, right? So as I understand it, there is the original track and then there's a Vengeance track, right?
Yes, correct. You make a choice at the beginning, and so that kind of sets your path, if you will.
It does, yeah. So would you recommend that I just play the original game then instead? They're both the same story though?
Different stories. Yeah,
different stories.
Yes,
okay.
Different stories. Yeah. If I didn't make that clear, I apologize.
And do any of the quality of life stuff happen in the original game too?
That's still there. So you have all the quality of life. Think of it this way: like, the gameplay is the same between the two, with quality of life and everything included, but you have 2 stories, and Vengeance is the new one, and it's not like a sequel type of new one. It's like we're retelling the original story in this new way. And we're
Okay,
following
so
the
I guess
same like
if I played-
locational beats, but like new characters, new interactions, and then eventually it breaks off, and it's like this is now like for those who've already played base SMT5, like we're going in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
I would just recommend Vengeance to people just because, again, I swear to God, I was digging for it. I could not find it, but I swear to God, I remember looking up how the SMT5 director was like shitting on his own story, saying like this is so much better. And
okay.
Someone could find it for me, but yeah, I would just say based on that memory alone, I would just go with Vengeance, because if the director's like, yeah, look, you know, I know their goal is to sell stuff, but like it was more like a humbling, like we don't know why people liked it kind of energy, like not, you know, this is so good, you got to check it out.
I do see the reviews too that they say that the Vengeance like story like just like pays better, like it just gets you there quicker.
Yeah, there's more happenings, there's more events, there's more characters happening. There's a better focus. Like it's better. It's better. I like the original story as SMT5. Like I don't know if I'm crazy for that take, but I just liked the choices that were there and the adventure you went on. It's not like the most memorable part of the game. It's really the experience of the gameplay. Like Brad said, it's very driven by its gameplay. But I think what happens is now Vengeance kind of brings them aligned. It's like now the story is as much of a focus as the gameplay.
I'm excited.
That's the future of SMT. It's like I think it's going to gain a lot more fans. SMT5 is already very successful. So I'm very keen to see what they do with the series moving forward.
Shadow Erdtree, like you, Matty, has gotten me into this. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally like battle hardened right now.
Yeah,
like,
this is if you're gonna play SMT5 Vengeance, this is a good time to do so.
I might as well do it while I'm in this like aggro mindset. You know,
absolutely.
Just like I'm gonna beat the fucking game. You know, and like a hard turn-based game sounds really satisfying. You know, when I think about Dragon Quest XI, I think about the hardest fights in that game and how fun they were to like figure out, you know.
That's what I got to play still. Dragon Quest is I have no Dragon Quest experience really outside of like the Dragon Quest 8 demo. That's all I got.
I think you'll like 11 then if you like interesting like turn-based combat that really makes you think about like the party makeup and the abilities or whatever like that. Yeah. Cuz people think Dragon Quest is just simple like you attack and you press magic or whatever. And it is like that for a while, but then, man, once you get the whole party and like all your abilities, like it really becomes like you just got to figure out like the best way to take this down. You know,
I haven't heard that about Dragon Quest, so that's okay.
Yeah, that like the right amount of turns, like you gotta do this, otherwise you're fucked because that enemy is about to do like attack, and then you're about to be set back like several different turns again. You know.
Yeah,
it sounds like that SMT is kind of like that, which is really hardcore, crunchy, turn-based RPG. You know.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm excited.
All right.
I'm gonna play today.
Hell yeah. All right, boys, we're back. It's time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we should talk about something that's bothering us in the game industry. Company, game, human being that works at the companies. Who knows? Gene, anything that you think needs sorting out this week? It's okay if you don't have one.
No, I actually have a good sort out. I actually have two. I just thought of a second one. But the first one, sort it out to people who are leaking Shadow of the Erdtree early. Fuck you, man. What the fuck dude? So, you know, and people know me again that I'm like, I like spoilers. I actually like finding out like what happened, right? But in this case, like it really sucks that people are spoiling like what's happening in Shadow of the Erdtree, and like people are just like posting like the whole like cutscenes and like the boss fights and everything. And it sucks. And people are actually looking into it. Don't look at that shit. The game's coming out on Thursday on PC, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You know, it's coming out real soon. And then two, just save yourself the trouble, man. It's way more exciting to actually experience it. You know, I would be so upset if someone spoiled me some of the biggest fights in like Bloodborne or whatever. So sort it out too. And they're doing it for clout, you know. Like I'm obviously going into the spoilers because I already know everything, right? But then they're saying shit like, "Oh, you still don't believe that this is fake?" And it's like, what are you trying to like win here? You know, like what internet points are you trying to win? Are you jerking off to them at least? like are you jerking off at least to people like telling you that you're fake or like I don't know like dissecting your leak footage of
doubt me, bro. Doubt me.
Or whatever. You know, doubt me. Ooh, you know, like at least tell me you're jerking off to this because I don't see any other point of why you would do this. Like, how does this make you feel good? How does this make you how does this benefit you in any way? If you're getting off on it, then I can at least get to that point where it's like, okay, coming feels good.
The mind of it, yeah.
So if that makes you come, then okay, I guess 1 + 1 = 3. Then I get that. But otherwise, I don't know why you would leak these out, and then for what? You're using a burner Reddit account, So the karma that you're getting isn't even to your main account. So what is the point of all this?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Don't leak that
and then
shit.
You're ruining. Fortunately, when I'm entering these these Reddit spaces, like it's like a couple hundred people looking at it. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, it's not like a massive amount of people spoiling the games for themselves. But it still sucks. So and the people who did look at it, they regretted it. And it's like, no shit. You should have just fucking played the game.
Yeah, just wait. It's so close, guys. Just
so close.
Wait. All right.
So sort it out to people who just leak for invisible clout,
Yes.
And speaking of leakers, sort it out to white people who are pretending to be Asian. I don't get it.
I was like, what is he talking about?
I'll talk about the famous Nintendo leaker Midori, who turned out to be some Persona leaker, Mystic Dance. Which is some white dude, and it was literally tweeting in broken English to pretend that he was a Japanese woman. And then today we're finding out that this guy, the guy who was getting mad about Yasuke and Assassin's Creed Shadow, was LARPing as a Japanese scholar, Kenji Yamamoto, but in fact he's a guy named Garrett Barnes, and he decided to just change his name to Kenji Yamamoto and pretend to be Japanese to become a Japanese scholar and say that Yasuke was not a real samurai. It's fucking insane, guys. Like
I'm here to tell you all, you can be white and admire Asian culture without
it's okay
imitating them. It's okay to admire it.
It's okay to be white and like Asian stuff. That's okay. We call you we got one here, Dustin.
Mm-hmm.
We got one here.
Yeah. Well, you don't see
we got
Dustin.
One freak here. Yeah.
We have a fan here, but the Dustin isn't out there speaking like, oh, me like you, be like a Kingdom Hearts. He's not like that. Like, oh, Soda, I love Soda. Utada Hikaru is so good. Like he's not doing shit like that. Well, that's what y'all are doing. It's crazy. So sort it out to white people pretending to be Asian. Just be proud and be white. Not too proud, I guess, but
not too proud. We got a little too crazy before.
Yeah. We know how y'all get when you get a little too proud. But you should stand by your whiteness and just be white and be and like Asian stuff. It's cool. Be white and argue against the Japanese samurai. Fuck it. Own that shit.
Matty.
So sort it out to leakers.
Yeah, sort out leakers.
Yeah.
Matty, anything this week from you?
What's funny is I originally kind of didn't have one for sort out. I was like, it's been a good week. I don't know if I got to sort anything out right now. But Gene, speaking on, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of you. So for me, I'll take it one step further with game announcement leaks. Not for the reason we were just talking about, like the people behind it, but what I was just kind of reflecting on it because Locke and I did an episode of Memory Card, which is our Patreon exclusive show on Retro Revive, and we were sitting there talking about like leak culture and what the gain of it is. And I say this as someone who, by the way, has leaked stuff in the past. As someone who has, like, I got to see firsthand, like, does this affect your numbers? And the reality is no. Like, what happens is people just gather in different pockets of the internet where that information is reached, and they discuss, but they don't engage in what you have in particular posted, right? Like you don't like it doesn't drive the insane traffic. And so I think I'm like a strong believer in information is powerful, and that we should like it's good to share information on the inner workings of making games, but I'm kind of growing tired of like, dude, what sucks is like going to the Xbox showcase and knowing that like Doom the Dark Ages is waiting for us. Like that is a massive fucking announcement, and you leak it a week before the show. Like, what do you gain 6 days maybe of clicks. That's it. And that bump is nothing. Like it's not going to pay anyone's bills. Like it's not going to change. But you leak that shit mad early. Like we have a lot of also, I like Tom Warren, but like some of his leaks lately, I think have been kind of shitty. Like he's just like, Xbox is considering this. Xbox is considering that. Like they're considering Halo on PlayStation. I'm like, let us know. Like, why is reporting transformed so much into like they're thinking about doing this. Like, let us know when it's happening. That's your job. Like, let us know before the big blowback happens. Like we heard about multi-platform shifts. That's a good leak. The business is changing, and Xbox had an opportunity to pull the wool over people's eyes, and journalists made sure like that didn't happen. Like they blew it up in their face, and some people thought the information got out of hand. There's a whole conversation there, but I think that's more powerful leak culture than spoiling announcements constantly. Like we already know a handful of announcements for tomorrow's Nintendo Direct, and I'm like, who benefits from like I saw one was like, this guy, this YouTuber was like, yeah, Fantasian will be there tomorrow. I'm like, dude, you're just putting this on Twitter. What do you gain from this at all? Followers, maybe. Yeah. It's like clout is such a clear drug to some people, and I don't think society's really addressed that because it's like an intangible. It's an emotion, but that high, that like it's a high people get. It's like an attention they seek. Is how at least I interpret it. Because I'm like, why the fuck are we ruining amazing moments? Like I say this again as someone who has leaked stuff in the past, like about KOTOR remake, like information on how the game plays and how I thought it was shaping up from what I'd seen, et cetera, et cetera. Like I get it because I was part of the problem, but I also recognize they're like, oh wow, you don't like get more traffic, just people talk about that thing. That's all you do is you create a conversation. And that's why I'm like the powerful leaks are like, I think what Jason Schreier does, where he'll like dive deep in like this game was a travesty. Here's what happened behind the scenes. Like, hey, the business is changing. I think Tom Warren was kind of leading the charge on that for the Xbox. Here's what they're thinking about doing. Here's what they're thinking about bringing the PlayStation. Like, I think that shit is important personally. But I think us knowing about announcements, I can get by with the release dates. I think that's cool. Like, let us know when the thing's coming out. I wouldn't hate that. To me, the release date pop has kind of faded, but like the announcement, the reveal of something, like I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't expect that. Ruining that, it's selfish because I'm like, who gains from that except the person posting that leak, and they gain seldom.
So little. You're right. In the big picture of media, you get a few thousand clicks. How does that help you long term? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And the reality is like, just to hold myself accountable, like when it's out there, it's out there. Once the news is out there and it's been fanned around the internet, it's like, I'm going to talk about it now because it's there, right? It's like, I'm not going to do what like Kind of Funny did with, for example, with like the Insomniac leaks. They're like, we're not talking about it. I'm like, how do you avoid this for like a decade as all these games come out? Like you just can't, right? Like, so once it's out there, it's out there. I don't think there's a problem with talking about the leaks once they're there, but I think, turning leaking into a business model is bad for the industry. And I hope, I don't know what sorts it out other than making more fake leaks, because think of how many people thought Gear 6 was going to be at the Xbox showcase. Everyone was like, send it. That shit's a guarantee. The Gear 6 is happening, especially if you see how Gears 5 ended. Like, yeah, it's got to be Gear 6. And look how authentically surprised and excited people were, because for once, like Xbox's big announcement didn't get fucking spoiled months in advance, right? And I think it puts these companies in weird spots. Like, of course, the state of play is not going to hit for you. The whole fucking list for the showcase leaked a day beforehand. You knew what was going to be there. Of course, this Nintendo Direct's not going to hit. You already know 8 games that are going to be there, like Dragon Quest.
Yeah, we already knew about Lego Horizon for some reason.
Yeah, like Lego Horizon would have been like Jeff Keighley's show probably would have hit different. We're getting a Lego Horizon game. Who would have fucking thought of that? But we heard about that for like 2 months, and announcements are becoming of like, okay, right, that does exist now. And I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. These are big moments for the team, of course, that goes without saying. But I also just think that we need to start considering how, like, hype is an important engine in this industry, and that, like, that excitement grows gaming. And, like,
and we keep finding new ways to kill that hype, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, I'll be the first.
How can we make this less? How can we make everything less exciting?
And that's what's happening.
And then we just abide by it, We're just, the leak though,
And speaking of Midori earlier, it's like that's what this leak culture has given birth to. It's like now you got people pretending to be people and leaking shit for attention. It's like don't people see the problem here? Like it's giving birth to really shady people in the industry. And obviously that's going to exist as it grows. But
there was that YouTuber Dan Allen Gaming that was leaking stuff because he was just signing NDAs and he was just breaking the fucking NDA. So like it doesn't like, and there was also that Google the employee that was just leaking shit on YouTube, right? Yeah. Like none of these leaks take any skill, You're just taking what is being emailed to you or what you're doing at work, and then you're just talking about it.
No relationship building, no investigative reporting,
no networking, no investigative anything. Like Jason Schreier is actually like building these investigations or these relationships with employees, so they'll tell him stuff. Yeah, it's just Midori is just like looking at shit and just like saying it. It's you're not working. You're just doing this for clout because you just happen to be there.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
So it's like if I leaked, like imagine if I leaked the Erdtree like ending or whatever, I could easily do that. But for what? Why would I do that? Yeah. I don't come to it, Yeah. It doesn't make me come. So why am I? Yeah, well, not yet. Anyways, maybe I can find some new way. But what the fuck is this all about? And then you bring up Tom Warren because it is interesting because he was also the guy who like kind of leaked Doom to Dark Ages too.
He did. I forgot he had the first teaser out there.
He did, yeah. And it's like he obviously does really good reporting within like the inside like shenanigans of Xbox, and then like 100%. I think some of that is looped into like, okay, well, as part of this, Halo might be coming to PlayStation or blah blah blah.
Sure.
That one I get. The Doom to Dark Ages one though, I'm with you there, man. Like that was such a spoiler, and if they opened the show with that and none of us knew that was coming, we'd be like, oh fuck, dude.
I'm not trying to over sympathize for these companies, but I mean there's a degree of like it's a big moment for them. Like you're a gamer your whole life. Like Doom is an iconic first person shooter franchise, and you get to like announce the next one. It's like, well, everyone already knows this shit exists. It's like Dark Ages. Oh, it's medieval. It's like. Tell me before that leak happened if anyone was expecting, we were expecting like a new game from id soon, but was anyone thinking it was going to be medieval Doom? It's like, no, but once you read it on paper, it just takes the wind out of the sails completely. It's like, okay, I have an image in my head. And then many people are like, well, that sucked. And I'm like, yeah, because you were allowed to create an idea in your head of what this thing would be before knowing it even existed. And what is it going to, it's actually going to be like. Games are having trouble speaking for themselves now because we have months to come up with like preconceived notions of what this game should be before ever knowing what it actually is. And so games are fighting uphill battles. Like that's what I'm saying. It just hurts gaming. It does.
I mean, it goes right back to The Last of Us Part 2. Like everyone saw what happens to Sori in there, and everyone's like, well, I fucking hated that. And it's like, no, what you should do is that you should have played the game from the beginning. And then you process that information as opposed to see it in a fucking like greasy 4chan video,
As a writer, no story looks fucking amazing immediately on paper in like this brief synopsis of bullet points. There's gaps everywhere. There's inconsistencies everywhere. It's about the nuance, the little interactions, the moments that build up to the big things. I don't want to get the
experience of playing the game and like building up to it, and then like you as a player, like you've been a participant this whole time. All that shit matters in video games. You have to play the game.
I don't want to get too carried away, but like I think it's just leading to a lot of bad assumptions, bad faith assumptions before we get to see how things play out. Like I saw with Dragon Age of Veilguard, they're like, Solus's whole plan for 10 years got undone by phony structure. I'm like, I watched the gameplay again. I'm like, number one, I think what they did kind of made sense for the moment. Number two, his plan does not look like it completely unfolded there. Like it was like this guy's been planning for a while, and like we're just making these bad faith assumptions on games because we're just always expecting the worst. And again, like trusting the horrible judgment of most gamers, which just is not a good guiding compass to lead any sort of conversation. But sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into a bitching segment, but
that's what
Sorted Out is about.
We need to sort out leaks. I think we need to sort out leaks. I think I get why they exist. I get why people do them, but I don't see the gain at all. And if you're not getting clicks off of them in a major way, I don't know how you're making money out of it. And I don't really understand the business mindset behind it, but sort it out.
And you look at my articles, I've never reported once on a leaked anything, period.
Really? Good for you.
Period. Ever. And The Last of Us might have been the only thing because I was talking about the story and it was kind of like my review of it. But otherwise, like, oh, this leaked and Lego Horizons is coming out. I don't engage in that culture at all whatsoever. I refuse to participate.
Yeah. Good for you.
Speaking of Nintendo Direct, mine's gonna be weird. Okay, I'm doing a sorted out. This could get totally thrown on the. Things could change, but for now, as a fan, I'm used to this. Sorted out Nintendo. No Twilight Princess or Wind Waker again for Switch. You fucked up again.
Oh, so, you're calling your shot early. You're saying
I'm calling it early.
Oh yeah,
I guess again.
I guess because when this episode comes out, that
it'll be out. Now. People will already know. But for us, we're shooting this on a Monday, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm just anticipating the worst, as always. Just the way it is. You fucked me again. What's going on? All right, sort that shit out. Just fucking get those
I hope you're
games on
wrong.
there.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too.
Yeah,
But
I
I'll
don't
leave
know.
that
I
right.
don't know.
I'm gonna leave that right into our keep it up. The exact opposite sorted out, by the way. Keep it up, Nintendo. You fucking finally did it. You put Twilight Princess in Wind Waker on Switch. You finally fucking did it, dude. Way to go, Nintendo. Thank you. Jesus, been asking forever. We fucking got it. Gene, do you have a keep it up, dude?
Not really. I guess I like keep it up to Insomniac. They just did a free update with a bunch of new costumes for Spider-Man 2, and I've been very mean to Spider-Man 2. Especially in light continuing this ongoing discussion of the leaks. The Insomniac leaks included all this footage of Spider-Man 2 that had this like destructible environments and like a Venom fight that just went from building to building. And I looked at that, and that only like magnified my disappointment. Until I remembered, like, and then circling back to what Matty did, it's like, okay, well, if those leaks didn't exist, I would still really enjoy Spider-Man 2. I really, really did still like that game a lot. And then so I played it again, and yeah, sure enough, I still really, really enjoy what's here. And I still stand by what I said in my review, where it kind of makes Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales Spider-Man obsolete, at least in terms of gameplay, not in terms of story. I think the story for both of those games are actually better than Spider-Man 2, right? But the gameplay for Spider-Man 2 is still solid. And Insomniac is just putting out new suits and new gameplay features, They just added a new feature where you can actually make sure that Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, has only either the robot arms or the tentacle arms. Because in the base game, it was always touch and go, where you might want him to have the robot arms, and he'll have the robot arms like parry moves and like the special attacks, but he'll have the tentacle parries or whatever like that. Now you can actually match it to where Peter doesn't have the Spidey suit at all, so he just has the robot arms, or he is Tentacle Man and he's got a full symbiote. All these upgrades just for free. Yeah. Sony and Spider-Man and Insomniac could easily just sell these costumes for like $5 a piece, Yeah. And I would probably buy them, or I might not buy them because some of them do look ugly, But it's cool that they're free anyways,
Yeah.
So yeah. So keep it up to Insomniac, continuously being the good guys of the Sony first party family, I think.
Matty, what about you?
Got a unique one here. We're not going gaming, if you will. We're going community based here. I want to shout out a little. Keep it up to the LSM Reddit page.
Oh shit!
Oh wow!
I have been impressed. We've called out the heel turn that happened over there. Just in my opinion, a lot of heavily critical, negative beings there. But I think they have responded well. I know there was a lot of good folks over there, but I think they have responded well. I like to tune in now, see what they're saying. It's not just because it's been nicer lately, but I think, they've been honest and fair, and I appreciate that. And so I just wanted to say, keep it up to the LSM Reddit. I love seeing the discourse over there. And so I'm continuing to lurk over there, and I like what I'm seeing. So just want to send some love to that part of the community there. Keep it up, LSM Reddit.
Yeah.
Nice.
I always like the Reddit. I know Colin hates it and Omega hates it. And I get it. The thing about Reddit is that like a bad comment on Reddit can really sting, But yeah, all right, listen, I like our subreddit. I'm in there a lot, as people know. So
yeah. I got ahead of myself. We didn't read the comments from the audience. So let's go back to sort it out from the audience. So from your boy Nikki V. Hey, Summon Signed. Feel free to Urban Dictionary what shun is or shum is. I did, and it's gross. So you can look it up if you want at your own risk. Can we give a sorted out to Nintendo for quite ironically, Nintendo for quite ironically, a kids company being such joyless sacks of shit. Their litigious nature against fans is well known, but the write-in was sparked by the recent news that they wouldn't approve of Samus to appear in Fortnite unless she was exclusive to the Switch version. What possible detriment could this have brought to their brand? As the owners of Smash, surely they should be well aware of cross-promotion benefits. More generally, how is a company one generation removed from the disastrous Wii U so arrogant? Much love, boys, especially to our resident titty gobbler, Nick.
That would be me.
I don't know who that is, but all right.
That would be me.
Okay.
You can call me that for years. That would be me.
Okay. I won't even ask about that story.
I don't know what. There was no story. He just started calling me, and I don't know what if I shared a story one time. I got 2 TMI. I was like, I don't remember sharing this information with Nikki, but nonetheless,
I think Nikki's just fucking unhinged. Sounds like
absolutely. Yeah, when you're using the word "shum" and I see that, I'm like, damn, I've never heard of that before. That's fucking nasty.
Nikki, you are a wild man.
I'm not looking it up.
Don't look it up. Yeah.
All right, this is from Irritated Swamp Bat.
Well, let me say real quick.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Samus is exclusive to the Switch on Fortnite, right? Yeah, all that stuff does sound ridiculous. But you know, as I said on Punching Up, listen to Punching Up. Who's winning the console war, really? You know, do you expect Lego? Do you expect that if Nintendo and Lego came together and made a Lego Mario game, it'll come day and date to the PS5?
No.
No. They'll be like, fuck you.
Nintendo's always been like that.
Fuck you. Buy Nintendo. You know,
they've always been like that.
So they create the expectation with the consumer, like.
Yeah. So Nick is asking, what possible detriment could this possibly bring to their brand? The brand is that they know they can know the detriment is that they can no longer say fuck off by Nintendo. You know? They are the only company today that can still say fuck off. If you want to play Nintendo characters from our company, buy our company's product. You know? Yeah,
they're very protective of their games.
But you can't get that with PlayStation, and you can't get that with Xbox. You know, so. You know, the next few years is mostly going to be Sony and Microsoft kissing Nintendo's ass. That's the market here, you know.
All right, this is from Irritated Swamp Bat. Sorted out Fallout 76. The fuck you mean I can't get dog meat as a follower? It's Fallout. You need a dog, especially for us older fans who just want to play alone. They know they can monetize different dog breeds. The Fallout 4 Creation Club already has a ton. A quick keep it up as well to 76. Getting to play as a ghoul finally is going to be so rad. Have an okie dokie kind of day.
I like that choice of words.
Yeah. Future listeners here, just keep them separate. If you got to sort it out or keep it up, separate them. It's easier for me. Don't combine them in the same
Don't break Brad's rules. Come on.
Don't break my fucking rules. Yeah, you can't have both in one write-in. You have to separate them. You can have them in the same post, but make sure they're like spaced out at least.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is from Carter Everson.
Oh, God.
Or Evanson. Sort out Matthew Place for getting my hopes up with Bethesda speculation for over a decade. No remasters at Xbox Showcase.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, Carter, I leveled on our prediction show and my own prediction show on my channel. I leveled with everyone. I said, look, I know I was getting a little hype, but, you know, I figured, I'll just say I took a good look at the FTC document. I was like, it's not happening this year. Maybe next year, if not, probably 2026. But yeah, I would just say that, I apologize if I got you worked up, but I did level with everyone when push came to shove and it was time to make some cold, hard predictions.
Yeah, no Gears collection.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's good with that. That's weird.
What's going on with that, man? Please.
It's one thing with like me and my little Fallout remasters, but no Gears remaster. Like, you're gonna do E-Day? You're gonna lead into all those stories, and they're just not gonna be available outside of the 360.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep doing. Xbox is just gonna keep doing that. You're just gonna have a big product and nothing else around it. Let's just a Fallout TV show and no Fallout game, big Gears of War game, and no re-releases of the old games. Really?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they're waiting until Emergence Day is actually closer to release those games. Because you know that Gears of War game's years away. Yeah. Especially by Xbox's cadence in the past. Yeah, like this game could easily be 3 years away. 4 years away.
That's awful.
Hopefully not.
Gears 5 came out like 4 years ago though. Like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. So hopefully it'll come out sooner than that. But
what the fuck are they doing? You know?
When Xbox shows a game, I expect it to not be out for 4 years at least. That's just
I think it's bullshit that we're waiting. Like people are entering high school.
Trailer only.
I think it's bullshit that people are entering high school and then leaving high school without seeing another game from a series. You know, or entering college and then graduating college, you become you earn a bachelor's degree or even a master's degree, and then part 2 of your favorite game series still isn't out, even though it was announced when you fucking started school. That's bullshit, man. Like we as an industry need to fix that. You know, we can't 100%. Be having huge life milestone events between games. That's stupid.
I agree, because the thing I've thought about is some of the stuff that we're attached to is because we got to consistently watch these characters grow. Like, I don't know if this is a bold statement, only because Gears did so much technology wise but let's take that out of the equation. I don't know if Gears would have connected with people as strongly if they didn't have the chance to like get the Gears 2 within a couple of years and show like the story chops, and then Gears 3 with the phenomenal conclusion a few more years later, right? Like,
Mass Effect as well, right?
Mass Effect, yeah. There's just so many examples of trilogy. Uncharted, I don't know.
They made Mass Effect 3 in like
resonate.
18 months. That's crazy. You know, they kill people for that, but still, you know.
Yeah, like I don't want to advocate for crunch, but I'm just saying that I think there's a reason we're connected with certain series more back then than nowadays. And a lot of people are like, it's nostalgia. I'm like, no, we just had a chance to like actually be in like a wave of our lives. Like I played all the Mass Effect games through high school. What fucking series can I say I did that for throughout like a 4-year career, right?
Past 3-4 years, none. There's no series like that, period. You know?
All you hear is game development's tough and it takes a while.
Game development is so hard. You know what? Fucking life is hard too, you know? We're all struggling here, you know?
That's funny.
I'm tired of hearing that game development is so hard. Everything is hard, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Everything
including
is,
leakers.
You know?
They're very hard.
Yes.
The leakers, I wish if they were hard, then yeah, again, they'd be getting
I was trying to make a joke about them nutting over their leaks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. If they were hard, then they'd be getting something out of it, but, you know. But yeah, right. Anyways, rant over too.
Keep it up from the audience here. This is from James Arnold. What's up, Brad, Cooper, and the gang? Just want to throw a keep it up to Sony for putting more PS2 games on PS5. Bringing the original Sly Cooper to modern consoles is a huge blessing for me. Those are my favorite platformers of all time. The Saturday morning cartoon episodic vibe, the cel-shaded graphics that still hold up, Carmelita Fox giving me a confusing feeling for an anthropomorphic, I can't even say that word, anthropomorphic fox lady when I was a kid. Hopefully Sony keeps going and adds Sly 2 and 3 to the lineup. Don't forget to jump and hit the circle button, boys.
You know what furry animal lady got me when I was a kid was Maid Marian in the Robin Hood Disney movie.
Oh.
Do you remember her?
That?
I do remember her, yeah.
Yeah, she was so hot, dude. Jesus Christ. Maid Marian, Disney, Robin Hood.
She hold
up?
There
she is. Yeah. With that
Does she hold up?
Yeah, she holds up still, man. She got that little pink like veil over, you know? Yeah, still would. 1,000%.
All right, this is from Crafton Picard. Hey, Silent Sign crew. Keep it up, Brad and the gang. You guys have just been killing it with game recommendations lately. It's brutal my wallet, but you guys just keep recommending amazing games, and this is turning into my favorite podcast. From Blasphemous to Celico to Kingdom Come Deliverance, I just love the passion you guys have when talking about games, and you sell me on them every time. Then I play a game and love them and see why you're so passionate. Video games are awesome, and so is this podcast. Keep it up. Thank you, Crapton. That was a little self-indulgent for us, but I'll take it.
That's cool.
Hell yeah.
Making you spend money. Good. All right. From Unkept Hawk. I'd like to issue a keep it up for Matty. So psyched for you that you got the Todd Howard interview. And I always appreciate the hard work you put into every project you do. Have a Todd Howard has been watching your career with great interest kind of day.
Thank you, Unkept Hawk. I really appreciate that. I had the chance to meet Hawk at the first LSM event in person. Awesome guy.
Nice.
So thank you for that. I appreciate the kind words.
Hell yeah. All right, Gene, let's talk about the Final Fantasy 16 DLCs.
Yeah.
Echoes of the Fallen and what is it, the Rising Tide?
The Rising Tide, yeah.
Yes.
Echoes of the Fallen was the first smaller chapter that released earlier this year, I think, or last year.
Yeah, it was very late last year.
Late last year, yeah. And then Rising Tide was released a couple months ago. Yeah, and speaking of PlayStation 5 games that I've been mean to, Spider-Man 2 was one of them. Final Fantasy 16 is another one. You know, a lot of people have been said that I've been pretty harsh on the podcasts on it, even though I gave it a really good review. I gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars in the Washington Post, and I called it a must-play title. I still believe that, and I believed it back then. So yeah, this is going to be my opportunity to kind of gush about Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
And all of its good parts. I think now Final Fantasy 16 is a top 5 Final Fantasy for me. I did not expect that, especially considering the story is not the most amazing, and obviously the side quests are still really, really bad. And I did so for this one. I played through Final Fantasy mode, which is the hard mode of Final Fantasy 16. So this is the one where you can start at level 50 and the level cap is level 100, but with the DLC, it's now raised to level 110. So I started Final Fantasy mode. I never finished it, and I was able to beat it. Went through the whole rigmarole again, and I also did all the side quests again, which was really, really boring, and I did not want to do them again. I was really looking forward to a run of the game that was side quest free, and that had really, really good pacing. But unfortunately, I didn't do that because I wanted to unlock the Ultima sword, which is the best sword in the game.
Oh, sure.
And the only way you can actually craft that sword, that weapon, is to do every fucking side quest in the game. You have
to do every side quest, or is it just the Blackthorn quest line?
You have to do that, but in order to get the materials to get the recipe, you have to do the Blackthorn. But then to get the well, actually no, I'm fucking up. You do have to get the Blackthorn quest, but I always wanted the Genji glove.
Okay.
Which gives you the plus 5% damage. And then if you add that with the other Genji glove, you get a Genji glove 1 plus 1, which gives you plus 10% damage.
Mm-hmm.
And that one you have to do every side quest for, because that one accumulates like the side quests like score basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to unlock it at the lady that gives you shit basically. I'm forgetting. These are just functions, you know. But I just
is that her name?
I guess so. Yeah.
I gotta look this up. Yeah, keep going.
But I just think that Final Fantasy 16 has amazing highs. You know, I think the boss fights are incredible. I replaying some of these fights again, some of the emotion that comes out of this is really unrivaled. The writing is very straightforward. I think it's very wordy, especially going through the game again. I said I was gonna be nice to this game, and then here I am criticizing it again. But like, you go through these quests, and like all of these fucking NPCs just say the same shit like over. Like this game was clearly written with a thesaurus like in hand, because they're just like repeating the same sentences over and over again, like in like different ways, in like different flowery languages, and it's so annoying. But then once you get past that shit, and once you actually hit like the big story moments, then it's really, really good. Echoes of the Fallen was a cool little dungeon that was fun. Did you play that, Brad?
Me? Yeah, I've played both of them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you played both of them. Yeah, so Echoes, it was a fun little dungeon, and you get a really, really cool weapon at the end. So I feel like,
dude, really cool boss fight too.
Really cool, really cool boss fight.
Really good boss fights in the DLCs.
Really cool, really great boss fights in the DLC. The boss fight in Echoes of the Fallen was fun, and you get a great weapon for it, and it's not that long. I would say it's about an hour and a half, so definitely worth doing. The Rising Tide enters, and I would say I'm actually slightly disappointed in the Rising Tide, because it was smaller than I expected. We talk about Shadow the Erdtree and how that blew away our expectations in terms of the map size and everything. I'm glad I definitely played Shadow the Erdtree afterwards, because playing the Rising Tide after FF60 or Elden Ring would be really, really disappointing, because the size of the area you get is so small. It's just like a little grassy area that's very, very linear. And you just kind of go through it. It looks very gorgeous, and the art design of this area is beautiful. And the story is actually really good too.
Yeah.
But I was just really disappointed in, like, there's just one area that's a grassy overworld, not very big, and then an area that's a dungeon. You know, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what it was.
I mean, yeah, it's a new zone, that wasn't in the base game, which is cool. But yeah, it's like not huge or anything like that.
Yeah, there's like one town in it, and then like there's a grassy area, and then you go to the dungeon, and then the dungeon is good. And and speaking of the boss fights, once you finish that boss fight, that dungeon, and you get to the first boss fight, man, that knight that you fight at the end.
Oh my god, I love that fight,
dude!
It's such a good fight.
I think that was the best fight in the entire Final Fantasy 16 game.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was definitely, it felt like a real like Dante versus Virgil fight. You know?
Yeah, it was definitely the most Devil May Cry fight I felt like in the whole game.
Yes, that's why I liked it so much, because I'm so glad you said that, because that was exactly the vibe that hit me with it. I was like, this is the most that this game has ever been like Devil May Cry 5, and I love it. The fight was so good. It's definitely like a fight of like equal level to you. So like it really feels like a dance. The choreography of it like made it really look cool. The boss fights moves were so amazing. Like the way it
the time stop thing is really sick.
The time stop thing was amazing. Yeah. Really, really excellent. And we get the Leviathan power early, which is nice.
Yes, you get to really mess around within the DLC, which is cool.
Yes. So really, really good design decision for the DLC to not give you that shit at the end of it as a reward, but it really gives it to you fairly early in the story to let you play with it. Again, DLC is not that long. I would say maybe it's like 3-4 hours.
I think if you do everything, it's probably like 7.
Yes, probably 7 hours if you do all the side quests, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a couple
cool
of
side quests like the Tonberry stuff is cool.
They are cool.
Like
they are cool. You know, and then of course the Tonberries look very realistic and they look very fleshy, and their asses look very fleshy. It's really
they got like cheeks. It's weird.
They got really, really realistic looking cheeks and like the butt cleavage, like underneath the butt. You know, like they actually bothered to like fucking like texture that out. It's so disturbing. Like the folds between the thigh and the butt cheek is there.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like you didn't need to do that.
They were cooking a little too hard there, like
right. But it's kind of like the horse balls of like Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy 16. You know, like you did not need to go into that much detail, but I guess it's there. You know?
What do you think the Leviathan fight?
Leviathan fight was cool. Yeah, really, really cool. It's I have a soft spot for the Leviathan fight in Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, why?
I know because it's a nothing fight, right? There's nothing happening. It
sucks
right?
ass.
it actually sucks ass, right?
Yeah.
But I did like the choreography of it, right?
Okay.
I did like how it looked, right? I understand that the fight is like nothing. It's not a good fight. And then you're just like the whole game. You're just spamming square to win, right?
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that they did try to like kind of match the grandiose nature of that fight, but also obviously still give me control. So I did really, really like the Leviathan fight. You know, I did think that the spectacle of 15's fight kind of took that away, but I did think that they were trying to reach that spectacle, and I appreciated what was going on, and I liked the fight. It's just that the fight before was so good that I was still kind of like, I was still kind of riding that high, and then the Leviathan fight happened. I was like, okay, this is a cool fight. And it's also E3 too. So it's like I think the icon fights are just generally less exciting because they become less Devil May Cry-ish, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So when it was like E3 versus Leviathan, then I was like, okay, you know, it's fine.
That music though, dude, they brought back the song from the very first trailer that wasn't in the game actually. Yeah. So I was very happy about that because that song,
the music Sogen went crazy in this one. Yeah. So I really, really just appreciate. So I was mostly disappointed in its length only. I wasn't really disappointed in its content. The fights were cool. The map was cool. I just wish it was longer, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Boss was cool. Leviathan was cool. The story was good. I was actually hooked, and I liked the characters. I thought the world that we visited was cool, and it made sense with the story too. It makes sense to go there too. It was fun that they wrote a whole magical excuse that the world in that area has a sunny sky and the rest of the world is purple. That was stupid, but I appreciated it. I'm glad that they did I'm glad they went out on their way to do that. You know, it's fine. You know. Very stupid, but that's okay. You know.
Did you mess with like the I don't remember what it's called, but it's like the Bloody Palace equivalent kind of thing you unlock?
I messed with it a little bit, and I realized it was a little more than I want. But I definitely do plan on going back because I do understand that you unlock some cool rewards, including a new weapon. So it's like, okay, if there's a new sword that I'm going to get there, then I'm gonna have to finish it. So I stopped there. But
you also get a really cool reward from beating like the DLC. I won't spoil what it is, but I did not expect it. And
I actually did not expect that too. It's good to not spoil that, but you do get a new reward. I'm really, really pleased that it was not spoiled. Nobody really talks about it. I guess maybe nobody really played this DLC because I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this DLC either. But
the DLCs are fun. They're definitely worth.
It's good though, and this new reward is excellent. I was really, really surprised with it. Had a lot of fun with it too. Still having fun with it. So it's like I'm actually, once I'm done with Shadowed Erdtree, and if SMTV doesn't like grip me like right away, and it probably might, I'm gonna go back to FF16 and like max out. I didn't hit the level cap for FF16.
Oh, neither have I. I was definitely under leveled.
So I finished the DLC and Leviathan fight in like level 97. So like it was a struggle. It was a struggle because the DLC was actually pretty hard too.
Yeah.
I died a couple times. But I'm actually wanting to go back, and now that I have everything, I have all the Genji gloves and everything. I can go back to Final Fantasy mode, do a new game plus that skips all the side quests, and I can just enjoy the story for what it is.
Yeah,
just go through. It's funny because I've been watching people like my friend Pat stares at over on Twitch. He's been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and he's starting to fucking hate the game because he's doing the exact same way Colin did it, where he's got mind goblins where he needs to complete everything before he goes on.
Oh, he's one of those people. Got it.
But Rebirth has broken him, and by the time he gets to like chapter 13, he's like, no, fuck it, I just need to finish the story.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but
you
it's like I like
only if you want to.
Yeah, I like Rebirth so much because I barely did the side quests, so like I really got to enjoy the story for what it was. Like the pacing was like perfect for me. So like I'm really hoping for that experience once I go to Final Fantasy 16. It's like, oh, boss fight, cool fight, it's story progression, awesome, and it just the story will just flow a lot better that way, without me having to fucking find the kid that pickpocketed what's his face, and I have to fucking go do that shit, like none of that shit like breaking up the pacing anymore, But otherwise, Final Fantasy 16, love it. I think it's a must-play title. I'm sad that more people that it hasn't sold more. I think it's a game that deserves to be selling 10 million, 11 million. I think it's a game that has more hype moments than Spider-Man 2, more hype moments than God of War Ragnarok.
Yes,
I think it's way better than God of War Ragnarok, in terms of being an epic saga story about magic and warriors, Buy Final Fantasy 16 if you have a PS5, you should play it.
Maybe we'll hear more about that PC version soon too, if you want to play it on there.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious about that as well. But yeah, I love 16. I think it's great. So
I love 16. I'm now solidly in the line of like I love Final Fantasy 16. This is one of my favorite Final Fantasies. It's up there. And if you tell me that this is your favorite Final Fantasy, I get it. I totally get it.
I believe it. Yeah, I totally see why. I mean, when everyone says this is my favorite Final Fantasy, I usually get why. I'm like, I get it, because they're all so different. Mostly.
Yeah. Even FF8, which is not like my favorite one, like if someone told me that, I was like, oh, I totally get it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it.
FF10, obviously, 12 even,
Yeah. Maddie, what was your favorite Final Fantasy?
Yeah, because you're a huge Final Fantasy.
Cool.
Man.
Yeah, that was my second
9.
favorite. So
9?
I always love hearing 9. Yeah, I love 9 too.
Story is just so good to me. It really just hits home. And then I'd say 12 is up there.
Oh, yeah. I need to revisit 12. I didn't love 12 when I beat it. I haven't played the Zodiac version.
Phenomenally. I
haven't played the Zodiac version, and I heard that's way better.
So much better,
yeah,
dude.
I played. I
could not finish the base 12. Yeah, so definitely. I only finished it in the Zodiac version.
Yeah, cool. Really that's good to hear. Yeah, I think 9's great. I love the storybook vibe of that whole game. Yeah, it definitely feels like that to me. It's cool.
It's also like the end of an era. Like that was the last
the end of the
PS1
Final era.
Of that
late PS1 game.
Yeah, very definitely. Special game. I got to it super late, and I kind of went in with no expectations. 6 is another favorite of mine. Love 6.
Cool.
7.
I remember when I bought that for PS1. And it's like, yeah, this is the last PS1 game.
Yeah, man. It
kind of felt like it, right? But it really did feel like an end of an era for sure.
Yeah, I remember faking sick to stay home and play it.
Oh,
good
nice.
times. Yeah.
Damn.
Good times. All right. This is from Jared A. Ahoy, summoners. With Final Fantasy XVI's 1-year anniversary coming up, I have honestly been itching to dive back in and start my Final Fantasy mode / platinum run, plus all the DLC. I have held off due to the expected PS Pro for a solid 60 frames. Should I wait, or is the DLC content worth diving back into the story? How is the new icon ability? Thanks for the great show. I mean, I don't know if this would even get a patch for PS5 Pro. I hope it does, because it needs it, in my opinion, greatly. The performance is like one of my biggest qualms with the game altogether. So I hope it does. But man, if I was you, if you want to play it this year, I would just play it right now.
Yeah, if you want to play it this year, I would not expect.
But if you're fine with waiting a year, maybe, or more, or till at least next year,
we might get the Pro.
We might get a Pro patch.
Yeah,
I think we'll get the Pro this year, but I don't know if we'll get a patch for this game right away. I have no idea.
Yes, that's right. That even if the Pro does come this year, it might not even.
Yeah, it might not.
Yeah.
So
it might make performance mode perform better, but performance mode already performs fine. So
Yeah,
and it's not going to do jack for quality mode. So yeah, it would have to be a whole like FF16 director's cut with all the DLC. Like that's going to take forever. Just play it now, man.
I would just play it now. Yeah, you just play it now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. I ran through Final Fantasy mode. I had a great time. It made me love the game even more. So if you really love the game, then I think you're gonna have a really good time just going right back to it again.
Yeah,
especially in Final Fantasy mode. Final Fantasy mode mixes things up. Like it'll change enemy placement, so it'll keep things a little bit interesting too. So like right away, like in the first level, like there's a whole like enemy that should not be there. So,
yeah. I think 16 was too easy. Also, way too easy of a game. So it's nicer that there's a little more pushback. That game needed difficulties to select from.
Mm-hmm. But they really, really wanted this game to be like the 10 million, 20 million seller.
I know. When was the last time we heard it was 3 million?
3.5 million only.
That was a while ago.
That was a while ago too. That was last year. That was the last update.
We heard like Capcom celebrating like Street Fighter selling 3 million, which is multi-platform. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not selling bad, but just whatever Square's metric for success is, I have no idea, or how much this. I'm sure this game was expensive as fuck.
Yeah, you look at some of those cutscenes; they probably cost an arm and a leg.
And they definitely got money from Sony for this. So
yeah,
if it's just worth it or not, but hopefully it'll sell more. It'll come to PC, maybe Xbox eventually. Mm-hmm. I wonder how long that'll take. PC is the priority, though. I'm sure for now.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
So hopefully more people.
I'll play it all over again. I'll be excited to play it on PC for sure.
Yeah, hopefully more people play it. All right, Matty, I'm curious about this. Silent Hill 3. I played through Silent Hill 2 a couple months ago because it's been a long time, and I was thinking about 3. So now, but like 2 remakes on the horizon. Mm-hmm. What made you come back to 3?
Just seeing the remake trailer, I think the game's shaping up a little better, and I think most would say, like, I
think it looks okay.
I would say it looks okay.
Yeah, like I'm not a huge Bloober Team fan, as people know. In fact, like this is probably one of my most disliked developers. So
me too.
It pains me to admit, I'm like, it's not looking too awful. I think they did a good job improving the character model in response to that criticism. Mm-hmm. Gameplay looks a lot better too. Like I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm just curious how like broad they're going with it. I still think they're being a little cagey with it, so I'm not giving myself over. But hearing the soundtrack reminded me of that feeling I got playing Silent Hill 2, which is just one of my favorite stories, man. I'll just say that credit scene is like that breaks people. It's tough. It's a really
the voice acting for that credit scene is crazy.
Like, oh my god, bro.
So that's how you know that the voice acting, like the voice direction for Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill 2 was like on purpose. Like they sound weird because I think they meant to be sound weird because
it's supposed to.
Once the story actually called for good acting, the good acting came in like pretty easily.
Yes. I kind of don't buy that all the time because I just think about voice acting in most games around that time.
Sure.
Yeah. It wasn't great either.
Well, it's also Silent Hill 3.
Maybe it was just that one talent that just really sold, like really killed it there at the end,
Whatever it may be, I just heard that soundtrack and I adore the Silent Hill soundtrack. Silent Hill 2 soundtrack, like I imagine most people do. And so I was at this phase where I was getting ready to go to LA. Obviously my trip got canned. I was like thinking, what's something I can kind of play that's small? Like I don't want a long-term commitment because you hear rumors about like shadow drops during the Xbox showcase and the Nintendo Direct coming up, which is also another place for the shadow drop. I was like, I don't want to, famous last words here, I am playing SMT5 Vengeance now, but I don't want to commit to anything too long term. I want something I can beat, right? Like that's what I was thinking. I want something I can beat in under 10 hours. And my buddy was like, Silent Hill 3. I was like, you know what? Like I was really curious about this one. Mind you, I've not played Silent Hill 1, which I know it's weird. Silent Hill 2 doesn't really build off of 1 in any way from my knowledge.
At all.
Whereas 3 is the direct sequel to 1 in a lot of ways. You can still get away with playing 3 as I did, and I want to go back and play 1 and just connect a few more dots. But I think that Silent Hill, it's such a strange franchise because they are some of the worst controlling, jankiest video games. Toughest to explore. They're a bitch all the time. It's grueling, but it's also some of the most thoughtful video games you can play. And I think that lends itself well because like part of the experience is the struggle. Like this, especially Silent Hill 3. I mean, Silent Hill 2, as someone who's very much an easy target for horror, like Silent Hill 2 wasn't scary. Like I got through it no problem. There was a part in the beginning of the apartments I was a little spooked out. Got over it really quickly. Didn't have any problem. Just ran through the rest of the game.
Apartments were the scariest part for sure, I think. Yeah.
Silent Hill 3 is terrifying as far as I'm concerned. Like I was talking about Defining Duke. Like I shut the door behind me when I got to play. Like it was starting to get to me like on that level, like childlike fears coming back. I was like, damn, it's a little creepy, very violent game. lots of terrifying imagery that kind of like burns into your head when you think of scary images. Like Silent Hill 3 comes to mind. Like very haunting game, very, very scary compared to Silent Hill 2. And, you know, it's so funny because I think the controls and the way the game plays and the way the music sometimes isn't like Silent Hill 2 is very vibey music. Silent Hill 3 kind of like assaults your ears. It's like metal on metal. It's like it's like a game about violence entirely. And so the soundscape is a big part of that. I think the controls and the struggle, like when it's all about violence, it's like you're barely getting by constantly. You're getting you're getting confused in the middle of combat. Like it sounds like I'm making excuses for bad controls, and those who aren't really sold on the universe and the story and the way they deliver things, and they have that disconnect, it will 100% sound like I'm just trying to like buy points for the game. But really, it combines into something that's so unique in gaming. I'm like, there's nothing really like Silent Hill. Like if any other series came around and controlled like this, it would get blown out of the water. It'd be unforgivable. But Silent Hill just found a way, and I think it's because number one, the thing I love about it, like Heather is the main character in Silent Hill 3. She's just a girl. Like she's just a girl, just like James is just a dude. Like it's not like Leon Kennedy, jacked, you know, seasoned cop or rookie cop who's on the up and coming and he's good looking and stuff. Like these are normal looking people, no exaggerated proportions, and they have demons. And these demons are what they're fighting in Silent Hill. As this world is transforming around them, and it's a game a lot about symbolism. Through the imagery that you see, through the enemies you encounter, they usually represent something that person is struggling with, that they're fighting with in that storyline. It's a game that's layers appear not in its conversations, but rather in its world and in its encounters. And so it was a fascinating game, man. I beat it. It didn't leave me with like just a dead silent pause like Silent Hill 2 did. In fact, I would say Silent Hill 3's ending is kind of weird, but it is still like the experience and the journey is so memorable. And again, I can't emphasize enough, what a scary game, at least for me. I was very on the edge of my seat playing it, dialed in, and it's exhaustive in a good way. Like it's a game that I beat across 4 nights playing 2 hours apiece. But when those 2 hours were up, I wasn't planning it that way. It's just I got to that point where I was like, I'm a little fatigued. Like I want to take a break. Cool. And again, those types of like emotions that a game can evoke out of you, when it connects so strongly with the narrative, it's like you can't really plan for that. You just make a grueling experience, and then like those extra things kind of come with it. And so it carried a lot of the experience for me, where I was like, this is just, again, maybe I'm looking too deep, but I'm like, this is far more than a game right now. This is like an experience. And I just love the franchise. I really do. Like Dead Space is still my favorite survival horror franchise, but I think Silent Hill is number 2. Like I beat it and I was like, this is really incredible. Like I also love like the goofiness of the loot in Silent Hill 3. Like I found a fucking katana, dude. Like I'm like this 24-year-old girl running around with a katana. It's so funny. But Silent Hill 3 also has like less character interaction, so you get like less of those breaks to just talk and kind of get out of the pressure of the world you're in. Like it's just, again, the best word for this game is relentless, and not in the way you think of like a horde mode relentless. Like it's just a sound or an enemy, something's creeping you out or breathing down your neck, or it's just an experience, man. It's really good though. I really love
Where are you playing this?
I played it on PS2.
Okay.
Oh, nice. You had the actual PS2 copy?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Good. Very, very cool.
CRT right behind me. Yeah,
really, that's a great way to play it.
Wow.
Yeah, really cool.
You're getting the real experience.
Yeah.
No wonder why you're fucking scared of shit.
Well, because there's the HD collection, which people have played, and it removes a lot of like the visual effects that make Silent Hill creepy and scary. Like when you actually get to Silent Hill and Silent Hill 2, like it's supposed to be a foggy town, but it's not foggy in the HD collection. Like you lose a lot of the aesthetic and the atmosphere. And like some people think like the fog is stupid, but for those who again understand like the themes and the symbolism of the story, like the fog represents something like where you can't see right in front of you. Like there's a confusion is one of the best friends of Silent Hill, which is such a weird game design tool. Like that's what's fascinating to me is like, I look at Silent Hill 3, I'm like, who the fuck came up with this? And was like, what if we just really, it's the same thing I feel about Dragon's Dogma. If anyone wants a more modern example, it's like everything that inconveniences the player is to the game's benefit. Like that's part of the experience. And so it's, I don't know, man, super unique, super crazy. And I don't know how they get away with it, but they do. And it's awesome. And I would love more of that. I haven't played Silent Hill 4, haven't played Silent Hill 1. So I'm kind of pacing myself out. But if it's any testament to this series, like I didn't even wait for October. Like I was like, let me play this now. Like this is, I love the idea of this. Let me play it.
You're making me want to revisit it now. That's why I asked you like how'd you play it. I'm like, damn, I need to.
The way you're talking about Silent Hill, it does remind me how we were talking about Eco. It's like, it's rough around the edges. Like the gameplay in Silent Hill is not good. Like the boss fights in Silent Hill 2 are not good. They're all bad. Yeah. But there's something about those games that is just so damn special and resonates with so many people. It's like the vibe, the story, everything going on in the game, aside from like the gameplay. The gameplay is serviceable, but it's not like great or anything like that. Yeah. In my opinion, Resident Evil is blowing it out of the water on all those fronts.
Totally.
100%.
That's why Silent Hill 2 Remake is so exciting, because it's like, this can at least bring it to some industry level standard and people can see why the story is so good while it also plays like a competent game, So
it's exciting.
Loving Silent Hill 3.
I need to revisit Silent Hill 3 also. I haven't played it since PS2 era, so it's been a long time for me. But yeah, I do. I remember
copies are expensive. I will just warn everyone. Save it for a nice payday. Yeah.
2 and 3 were the best in my opinion that I've played. I've only beaten the first 3. And the other ones I didn't like. I played Shattered Memories, and I know some people like that game, but I did not.
Is that the PS Vita one?
It was on Wii and PS2.
Oh,
it might have got a Vita port. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, the Vita one's like I'm pretty sure the Vita one's like an action RPG. That's why I wanted to ask about it.
I've never played that.
Yeah, there's a Silent Hill game on Vita that's exclusive.
Book of Memories.
That might be it. Yeah, it was.
This looks very different.
Yeah. I'm so curious about it. I got to add it to my Vita collection. I got a stack of Vita games right here that
it's like isometrical, like ARPG. It's
exactly. That's why I'm so curious about it. I'm like, who the fuck came up with this now? Like,
that is very weird. Silent Hill's a weird franchise, man.
Yeah, Silent Hill is so fucking weird, man. And then I played Silent Hill Ascension, or that fucking that TV game that just came out.
Oh my god, dude, Jesus!
Silent Hill Ascension.
Yeah.
Is it bad?
My buddy Super Eye Patch Wolf has been streaming it, and it's been really funny because like the entire time he's like, "What the fuck am I even looking at?"
Yeah, dude.
Like, what is this
garbage
experience?
I totally get why people were really upset about the Kojima like Silent Hill, like PT being like the teaser for Silent Hill. Like, I totally get the disappointment of that now. Like at first, I was like, "Who gives a shit?" Like, Kojima's great.
Did you play PT?
I played PT, yeah, and I was like, it's remarkable. Don't get me wrong, but I was just like, I had no connection to Silent Hill. Knowing how much I love Silent Hill now, and then seeing that and knowing the minds behind, I'm like, dude, fuck. Like, that might have been the greatest of all time.
Knowing what Kojima could have done and what he did with PT already, and then like knowing what Silent Hill is. Yeah, no. That's
Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill in general already is a series that makes leaps in logic.
Welcome to our world.
I'm here now. I get it, everyone.
Now you're completely cursed with the rest of us, Dude,
all these leaps in logic that Silent Hill is known for to like accomplish its main story beats, like that's in Kojima's wheelhouse. Like that's just what he fucking does already. Like just mind bending, like what am I looking at? Like that's Silent Hill constantly. Like there's a part where you get to like a bathtub and you look at it and blood drains out of it, and all of a sudden you're in the other world. I'm like, what the fuck happened here? Like I don't even get it. But that would fit Kojima perfectly. Like I totally get why people are bummed, and I am here now. I'm officially bummed too.
Scariest moment in Silent Hill 3 is the mirror room. You hit that part.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Oh my god.
Dude, come on, man, dude. What the fuck, dude?
Skin crawling type shit. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. But that is one of the most memorable, scariest like moments for me, like in any game.
Silent Hill 3 is fuck, dude.
Silent Hill 3 is exceptionally scary. Definitely, it's up there with 2.
I was surprised because he opens up, and I'm expecting more of Silent Hill 2, right? Like I'm expecting consistent character interaction, good vibes. Not good vibes, but like just a moody soundtrack that's like, wow, this kind of like goes against everything the game's about. It feels like a moment of brevity. All right, I can get down with that. Like a series about that. It's like Silent Hill 3 is almost the total opposite. Like, it's every environment is like creepy fucking looking. Like you're crawling through like hospitals that are like twisted and demented, and churches that are like crawling with blood. Like it's fucking creepy, dude. If you don't like spiritual horror, you would hate Silent Hill 3.
If you like the imaging, Matty, because I know you're on a movie journey, right?
Yes.
You've been watching movies, right?
Yes.
So this one maybe for you and Locke, watch Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder is the movie that inspired everything that's in Silent Hill.
Oh,
all the imagery, everything that you think is really, really unique, they took it from Jacob's Ladder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an interesting movie. I watched it like way after the fact, and I was like, oh, that was really interesting. But when you watch it, like you'll see the Silent Hill parts, and you're like, oh yeah, like Silent Hill is totally just ripping this movie off.
I heard Silent Hill has movies. Is that true?
Yes,
it does. Yeah,
there's 2 of them. And there's a new one coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's
boy.
based on 2.
The second one is awful, and the first one is okay up until like the 60% line.
Yeah, first movie's okay.
It's okay though.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Find a bad Silent Hill movie for me. Like, what are we talking about here? Is it the acting? Is it like the what the fuck is going on story?
I couldn't even tell you. It's been so long.
The story doesn't really make any sense. The first one stars a woman instead of Harry Mason, because but it retells the story of Silent Hill 1. And the fucked up thing is that he gender swapped it to a woman because he thought that it was too gay for a man to be looking for his son or his daughter in Silent Hill. It's too gay to be looking for your child in the murder town. So that's why.
Okay.
So that's why it's a woman, and then Sean Bean became the husband, the man of that movie, and then Sean Bean like doesn't do jack shit in the whole movie. I guess
he's Harry Mason. Sean Bean is Harry Mason.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean he's supposed to be. There's no Harry Mason like in the story, but like the woman is supposed to be like the Harry Mason. Like they're telling a new story with the same.
That's so
story
interesting. That's such an interesting
story
on the decision being made.
Yeah, it's just too homosexual to look for your kid. So just we'll make it a woman.
That's fucking absurd.
So weird, dude.
Yeah. Otherwise, pretty good, pretty interesting movie. Really violent. There's one scene that's just fucking awful to see.
There's one cool kill.
Yeah.
When I think in my mind, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Let's end the show.
Did you watch Jacob's Ladder, Brad?
What?
Have you seen Jacob's Ladder? Jacob's Ladder?
I have not.
You haven't seen it? No. Yeah. To folks who haven't seen that movie, go check it out. Or if anything, if you don't want to even check out the movie, just you look up YouTube Silent Hill Jacob's Ladder, and then you'll know exactly what sequences I'm talking about.
Yeah. So. All right. Let's end the show like we always do with some questions from the audience. Remember, if you want to send in a question to this show or other podcasts on LSM, head over to patreon.com/laststandmedia. All right. This is from Sampo. Boys, will Xbox ever release a GOTY winner at the Game Awards? Nintendo won with Breath of the Wild, Sony won with God of War, and The Last of Us Part 2. Do any of their announced games have a shot to win GOTY? Appreciate y'all, Sampo. Now, Matty, what do you think about this as one of our Xbox experts?
Yeah, I think Xbox kind of got robbed in certain years of like nominees. Like I think of Forza Horizon 5. Like that was a.
Did that come out too late to get nominated?
No, I think that was right in time.
No, it should have been nominated.
It was like one of the highest reviewed games of the year, and it didn't even get nominated. I'm like, I get it. It's a racing game. Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm all about racing games. Everyone knows that. I joke about that. I call them the Forza Bros on the show, but I mean, like that was a robbery. Like that was, it should have been in the conversation. I don't think it would have won that year, but I think it should have been in the conversation. So I think there's a bit of snubbing at times. But as for their announced games coming up, we got Avowed, Indiana Jones. I feel like Avowed, like I'm just in that weird pocket where I think that Avowed and games like Avowed are so exciting, like hub-based games with choice and consequence and unique character interaction and cool loot, like sold every fucking time. Oh, you have the framework of KOTOR? Sold. But that doesn't seem to light everyone's fire on a game of the year level. So for me, I'd have to be objective and cross that out. I think Indiana Jones could be in the conversation if they make the cut.
It's going to come out too late.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out too late. But that, I think, is that's GOTY level stuff from what we've seen, to me at least. Like the combat looks great. I think that the first-person animation, we already know machine games can deliver on that shit with the immersive qualities. We saw that with 2 Wolfenstein games now. I think that the presentation alone is like industry standards, like setting. Like it's really good shit. So if I look at like the quality of output, I think indie would be in the conversation. I think the problem Xbox may run into is like this year, maybe we'll see something appear on the list, but if not, next year, I think they have a lot of really good potential candidates. I think Fable could definitely become one of them. If indie gets delayed, I think whenever indie comes out, that will be one. I think that should be in the conversation. I just think 2025 is going to be another high year for gaming. Like we're having kind of a breather year, if you will. Still a lot of good shit coming out. You get Dragon's Dogma 2, 7 Rebirth, all that stuff. But I think it's a breather year in comparison to like the flurry that was 2023.
GTA 6 coming out 2025 though.
Yeah, if they actually hold that date. I know they're doubling down on it, but
that's true. I mean, it could come out late to 2025, but then that could still be game of the year over.
If that comes out, that's like a lock-in for the spot. We know how this industry goes, right? So I think Xbox can be in the conversation these next 2 years. I think a lot of it hinges on indie this year.
I'm cheering for Avowed.
I am too. I feel like Avowed
looks really good. I'm super excited for it.
Was the Outer Worlds in the Game of the Year conversation when it came out?
I don't think so.
It was not, but I honestly don't think it was that good anyways. So,
I like the Outer Worlds. It's like from the Obsidian games I've played, I have not played all of them, but they're usually like 8s from what I've played, I think the Outer Worlds, I'm like, yeah, great game. Really great. I don't know if it's going to be GOTY contender. And what I've seen Avowed, I'm kind of feeling the same right now. Like, it's not out yet. I have no idea. Could be amazing. But just what I'm seeing of it right now, I don't know if it'll...
I'm hoping that Avowed will knock it out of the park, which is really cool.
I mean, I hope so. Yeah, absolutely.
Type like RPG. And it looks it's the game that I'm most excited for sure.
Same. That's what's happened to me. I'm super pumped after the new gameplay they showed at the deep dive for the interview. Like that shit looks amazing.
I did not watch that, so that could be changing my mind.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw clips of it. I didn't want to watch it because I just want to like be surprised by the game too.
Yeah, they have like a third person mode and everything that they just like said like, yeah, it's here, it's in the game now. I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why aren't you guys marketing this more?
That sold me. I was like, oh, they're really putting a lot of love into this game,
because that's feedback from the Outer Worlds 1. People were really upset the Outer Worlds 1 had like cool armor sets but no third person mode.
You can't see it.
So now you can do that in Avowed. So and it's just like Skyrim in that regard. So I'm really pumped about that one. I'm curious if it'll resonate widely, but that to me, that's my most anticipated from them. But I think indie will be kind of the deciding factor for Xbox this year. I mean, will Shattered Space light the world on fire? Like I imagine Shadow the Erdtree will. Maybe. I mean, people wanted like a focused BGS area, and like they're getting that with Shattered Space, according to Todd. So like maybe that does something for them. If Call of Duty counts, maybe Black Ops 6 is kind of dope this year. I know it's not like a first party traditional exclusive like we were talking about here, but Flight Simulator I doubt makes the cut if Forza made the cut, or didn't make the cut. So yeah, they have a lot of good stuff coming out this year. I think indie though is the deciding factor, as I've said a million times now.
Yeah.
So
the only thing is, if indie comes out in December this year, it's not going to get nominated next year. I guarantee it.
The only game I think that happened for that comes off the top of the head is Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like that.
Yeah, and
that
Smash
made
Bros.
The
Is like insane.
Yeah, exactly. So. How can you ignore that? Especially when fighting games were like really just dry. So like, of course, Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be in the conversation that year. Now it's a little more competitive.
Like I think Xbox games will be nominated for stuff this year, just not Game of the Year guaranteed.
Yeah,
like
they'll get plenty of
the year thing. Like they'll get nominated for probably like performance for Hellblade and stuff like that. I could see stuff like that happening.
Visuals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Sorry.
But we'll see. Hopefully, like Xbox could use the win, dude. Yeah, that'd be good for them. They have so many fucking teams now, so it's like it's got to happen sometime.
Well,
I
also
think
to add to my
law of numbers.
Also to add to my comment, like I agree with Matty that I think indie would be a game of the year contender. I wish it wasn't though. I wish like we wouldn't be putting games like Spider-Man and Indiana Jones, which are Disney properties, as like this is the best the video game industry can do. I'm really wary of just being this is the IP, so now the IP is going to be the game of the year. I think that's going to be the case. Right?
I think a lot of that is,
but it's really annoying that it's like, Spider-Man 2 obviously game of the year. It's Spider-Man. Come on, it's like no, not really.
I think that is a problem.
Spider-Man.
I think a lot of people vote for stuff when they haven't played it.
Yeah,
as someone who's voted on the Game Awards in the past, I know how things go. And I would say that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of people out there who vote for stuff not playing it.
Which is why I don't like the Game Awards like structure of just based on people.
When you look at the list of shit that's come out this year, dude, like I feel like there's only 3 clear nominations in my opinion, and one of them might have an asterisk, and I think that's 7 Rebirth, absolutely, like no doubt. I think Tekken 8, and then maybe Dragon's Dogma 2. Like I feel like the window is there for a lot of teams. If you're looking at like big AAA games, I think Animal Well did really well for people. So maybe
there's going to be like 1 or 2 indies that get nominated for sure.
But it's kind of a little dry in the terms of like last year we had just constant home runs where it was like, these are the big noms. But this year I think it's a little more open ended, where maybe Avowed could really like sneak in. If it comes out,
that'd be awesome.
The time it does, that would be cool.
I would
see.
love that. I would love that.
I mean, I want them to succeed. Obsidian's like a local dev. They're like 10 minutes from me, so I'm like always rooting for them and stuff. So hopefully, guys, knock it out of the park, please.
Yeah, I'm cheering for Avowed and Obsidian. I want that. I want them to, and I've been cheering for Avowed the whole time. Everyone was like, "Oh, the graphics look ugly." I'm like,
"Oh, I don't have a problem."
If you guys ever played an Obsidian game for graphics, get out of my face.
Yeah, were you even there with them for Alpha Protocol? Shut the fuck up,
exactly. Yeah, Alpha Protocol is like the perfect example.
Yeah,
New Vegas too. New Vegas is a fucking ugly ass game, man. I'm sorry.
New Vegas is fucking ugly, but the Alpha Bros, we were there the whole time, the Alpha Protocol.
All right, this is from Javen Mather. Hello, good sirs, hunters, and tarnished. Games such as Persona 3, 4, and 5, as well as Shin Megami Tensei 4 and 5, among others, receive these updated director's cut versions, parentheses, that feature far more than quality of life changes. This seems specifically, or especially unique to role-playing games, as genres go for receiving such treatment. If another series or title from a different genre could receive such attention with a highly expanded version, what would you pick, and what would you want to see adjusted about it and added to it, perhaps? So, what other series, I guess outside of an RPG, will we like to see get the Persona 5 royal treatment?
I can see fighting games benefiting from that a lot. Some of them already kind of do it.
They used to do those, like Street Fighter 4.
Fighting games were the ones that started that whole thing.
Yeah, like how many versions of Street
I was going to say, when I
Fighter 4
spit out that answer, I was like, wait. I feel like this has happened before.
They stopped doing that. So now we're not getting like Tekken 8 Raw Fury or whatever,
Yeah.
And Street Fighter 6 is just Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what game.
Dynasty Warriors was doing that for a while, where you would get Dynasty Warriors 5 and then you would get Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires,
or like Extreme or something like that.
Or the Dynasty Warriors 6 Extreme Legends or whatever,
Yeah.
That was always fucking annoying because I would just buy those and then just buy the Extreme Legends version. It's just like so I totally get the Persona SMT struggle here.
Yeah, it's weird because with like Persona in general, it's like most other games will just make DLC and sell it standalone. But Persona or Atlas in general is just like, nope, you got to buy the whole fucking game again. It reminds me of Dragon's Dogma on PS, like with Dark Arisen and shit like that. I was so mad I couldn't just buy DLC. You had to buy a whole new version of the game. It's kind of a thing of the past.
It was a lot better too. I think it's better. I still think it's better than Dragon's Dogma 2.
Sure, yeah.
And they're probably going to do that with Dragon's Dogma 2. What the fuck, maybe Resident Evil could be a series that
they used to, like, I think of like Code Veronica X and stuff like that.
Survival horror,
right? Yeah.
They usually just do standalone DLC, but they do like gold versions now or whatever.
Yeah, there was Resident Evil Village Gold. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they did like.
I guess they're all kind of doing it, aren't they?
I mean, it's basically like the game and then the season pass, and then you release that whole package. That's what it is. I mean, Shadow to Erdtree is basically what that is too, right?
Yeah.
And then so, I mean, the cool thing about Shadow to Erdtree is that like I'm actually taking my cool weapons and I'm bringing it back to the base game, and like, obviously these are all NPCs, but I'm going back to these trash mobs in the base game. I'm like, check out my new like light greatsword. I'm just like dancing all over the place, So,
oh, dude, you know what's a really interesting version of something like this was Super Mario 3D World, where they added like Bowser's Fury to it.
Bowser's Fury.
I never played Bowser's Fury.
Oh, Bowser's Fury is very delightful. Very delightful.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't played it?
No.
Yeah, it's weirdly as good as
Odyssey.
They weirdly made another game as good as a Mario game. It's like super good.
Yeah,
I like 3D Mario. I don't like I tried Mario Wonder. I was like, this isn't a bad game. It's just not my taste.
Jam.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you like Donkey Kong though?
I do like Donkey Kong 64 a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country is the shit though.
Safe.
Oh, you're talking about Country?
Yeah.
No.
Wait, you don't like Donkey Kong Country, Matty?
I did Tropical Freeze, remember? And we talked about this. I did Tropical Freeze, and I was like, dude, I just can't. Because I said I like 64 way more. You were like, had an aneurysm. You're like, no fucking way.
Yeah, that's offensive.
It's definitely a bad take. I get it because it's. I know 64's got its problems for sure, but I do like if one of my weird hopes for the Switch is that they do an Odyssey style Donkey Kong game.
Yeah,
Like,
I've been wanting that so bad.
It's been in the room forever. I'm like, come on.
We need a new 3D Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Kirby kind of got like a 3D game, right?
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's bullshit.
Yeah, it's something along the lines of that. It doesn't have to be like a Mario Odyssey, but yeah, like a Kirby 3D, like Donkey Kong.
I'm a weird Nintendo fan though. Like my favorite Nintendo series is probably Luigi's Mansion. Like I think those games are fucking hilarious and awesome.
Yeah, Luigi's Mansions are good.
Especially 3. Yeah, like we're talking traditional Nintendo. Like I think Smash is my actual favorite Nintendo series, but like, dude, Luigi's Mansion's the shit. So like,
nothing wrong with Luigi's Mansion, a game series that sells better than God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man. All of that shit.
That's a good looking game. That doesn't have the Switch energy on it, dude. That's a good looking game when you.
Play the CG for that game was crazy too.
That was my first GameCube game, and I like beat it really fast, and I was like, "Fuck, I should have bought Rogue Squadron."
That's right.
It was cool, but it's just really short.
Rogue Squadron was a savior for early GameCube.
Rogue Squadron was like the showpiece, dude.
It was, yeah.
All right, this is from Dakota Warner. Hey there, Summon Sign crew. New patron member here. First time write-in here. Thank you.
Welcome.
I often think about what could have been when it comes to gaming. Me Games closed last year after putting out their final incredible game, Shadow Gambit: A Cursed Crew, which came after the criminally underrated Desperados 3. Yo, shout out Desperados 3. I played a little bit of that game. It was really cool. If a game studio could come back for one last banger, what should it be and why? Keep killing it, guys. Sincerely, Dakota. All right, who are we resurrecting from the dead for one last go?
Pandemic every day of the fucking week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Great answer.
Absolutely, bro. They made nothing but amazing games. And if I could just get one more out of them, please, whatever it may be, give it to me. That was a fucking great studio that got killed off, man.
Mine's Luminous with Forspoken 2. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
No, I'm just kidding.
That would be bold. That would make headlines if they did that.
That would be awesome. I would love that shit.
I would be morbidly curious and play it just out of like.
I would absolutely play it.
Like, what are you guys planning for Forspoken? But like,
that is the biggest risk you could possibly make.
Yeah,
as Square Enix, that's fucking insane.
That is crazy. And I say that as a Forspoken fan too.
So. Dude, I got it. It's fucking Tango, Evil Within 3, man. Just one more.
That's a really good one. Yeah,
I was gonna say either Tango or Team Clover, which is basically the original Tango, right? But like, come back to
original Platinum,
make a Beautiful Joe.
One final Okami console game.
An Okami, a Beautiful Joe 3. God Hand 2. Remake God Hand.
Man. Fuck.
I'm always talking about God Hand. But yeah,
I need to play it. I haven't played it.
You never played God Hand?
No, I missed it.
It's a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'd have to find a copy. Maybe if I find one for a reasonable price one day. I don't know if it's expensive or not, but I honestly forgot about it.
I think it's not that expensive because there's still not that many people still know about it. It's still like super niche to nerds like me. Even Dustin hasn't played it.
Careful, he'll shit all over it. He'll make you want to strangle him again.
I know, man. Now I'm just scared to like talk to Dustin again. Like as a friend.
You could talk to me
as another human being. Like I
games.
Yeah, I just like objectify him now. He's just like a thing,
That son of a bitch. All right. This is from Holy Hyena.
You mentioned also earlier about how Silent Hill 3 has like eco energy, and I'm like listening to Matt like talk about Silent Hill 3, and he's like, yeah, the combat sucks, whatever, but also there's this and this. And I was like, yes, this is how an intelligent appreciator of games sounds like, as opposed to Dustin, the fucking Neanderthal,
The Neanderthal, dude.
Fucking
we need like we need to make like a meme template, dude.
Magnon just running around like hitting things with sticks and eco, just like what the fuck, dude.
Yeah, we need like Giga Chad, average eco enjoyer or some shit like that. Average haters like Dustin or some shit. Yeah. All right, this is from Holy Hyena. What's good, summoners? What is your favorite non-MMO DLC / expansion? Most DLCs these days feel like small add-ons, but shout out the Erdtree looks like a proper expansion. I have never been so hyped for a DLC in my life. Shout out to all of the Tarnished out there. Now, I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna pick a From Software one because it's too fucking easy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something else besides the Old Hunters. Right?
Yeah, it's just like From Software is too good. I'm going to say one of my favorites was Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne, the expansion they added for Warcraft 3. Fucking adored that. Adding new heroes, cool storyline with Arthas and everything up there in Northrend. Good shit. Loved it. Bring that back.
Oh, man. I got to say,
give me a proper Warcraft game, for fuck's sakes.
Far Harbor is definitely like...
Oh, yeah. I've heard
really
those. I've heard nothing but
4.
good things about those Fallout expansions.
Yeah, I love Fallout 4, but I even as someone who enjoyed it, like I missed the role-playing systems, and part of it was like vindicating because so many people were like, Bethesda could never make a role-playing system in this game, and I'm like, yeah, they could. There's like skill check options all throughout the game. They're just scarcely used because Bethesda just kind of chose not to do it for whatever fucking reason. And then Far Harbor's like choice and consequence everywhere. It's got that like that atmosphere that's similar to forgetting the name of the DLC for Fallout 3, but Point Lookout. It's got that similar vibe to it, but bigger. It's got one of the best vaults. I love that one. That's absolutely one of my favorite DLC. Burial at Sea Part 2 is like the most memorable story DLC I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, man. Like no one talks about it enough, in my opinion. Like you can't talk about it enough. Like it's just, dude, Ken Levine, like just give me Judas already, bro. Like I got to see what's cooking in that brain of his now. Like he is
that guy's
a marvelous storyteller. And like that, I won't even say what happens. Just like that is a fucking incredible piece of DLC that I had no idea where it was leading. Cause I remember that the first part of Burial at Sea got pretty shit reviews. Like people were like, yeah, this wasn't good at all. But Burial at Sea Part 2 is like, oh my God. Best
That's
DLC ever possibly for me. Just incredible.
I have an answer.
Yeah.
Besides Old Hunters, Blood and Wine, Witcher 3.
Great pick, Gene.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Yeah, I almost completely forgot about that, but that gives you a whole new map that is beautiful, like more prettier than anything in the base game. The story is amazing. There's so much new content in there. The world is great. The new town and castle is amazing, and the way it just caps off the story for Witcher 3, like it's still the reason why I think Witcher 3 has one of the best endings to a game like ever. It's because of what they added in Blood and Wine and like how that became like a proper real end to
that. Makes me interested because I'm not souring on The Witcher 3 in the sense that I think it's a bad game or anything like that. I just I don't like the gameplay, dude. Like I just
no, I don't think the gameplay is like that great.
No, yeah, it's so tough, and
it's definitely the weakest part.
I always hear Blood and Wine's so good, and I play like a little bit of it. I was like, I just can't get back into this combat. Like it's not fun.
You're right.
But hearing that it's conclusive and that's not what I expected. I thought it was just kind of like, I think of Shivering Isles, right? Like I go to my head like, oh, we're going to a new place.
Adventures.
Yeah, more adventures. Okay, like that. I can see why that lights people's fire. I have no doubt, especially at that point, CD Projekt Red, like there are side quests in Witcher 3 that are better than most main game stories. But that's interesting. So there's a sense of finality there. That's
I think this is the real ending. This gives us like the real ending to The Witcher 3 because when it ends, you're just like, oh, this is the true end to Geralt's story. Like no matter what choice you make, this is the real ending that they envision. So yeah, check it out. I agree with you, Matt, that I think Witcher 3 has not aged that well. I actually think ultimately, I think Cyberpunk is the best game that CD Projekt Red has ever made. Right?
Funny that. I agree.
I think that game has just aged better and better as Witcher 3 has not aged that well. But if it's really been that long, I think it might be worth checking out because it's an amazing story, and yes, it is. I think it is the conclusive story to Geralt.
That makes me very interested.
It's just one of the greatest endings I've ever seen. So.
Speaking of Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty is another.
Phantom Liberty is another one. Yeah.
Excellent DLC.
So excellent. You want to talk about story DLC? I think Phantom Liberty is up there too. You know, I was gonna say better than Witcher 3, maybe not quite, but it's up there. It's It's so good, Phantom Liberty. So DLC has been pretty good lately, actually. Yeah, I guess Phantom Liberty and I don't know what else has been there. Grand Theft Auto 5 had no DLC, and neither did Red Dead Redemption.
I remember the rumors for years of like
Red Dead Redemption 2
single player DLC for GTA 5. Just how such easy. Money never did it.
Shout out Undead Nightmare. That was a lot of fun.
Oh man,
Undead Nightmare,
Red Dead Redemption, really fun.
Changed the whole game and the map. That was fun. That was really excellent and transformative. We don't get that shit anymore.
Yeah, just some goofy undead horrible thing happening in the Wild West. It's fun.
That DLC is so funny.
Yeah.
The whole what if scenario, and it's great that it's in the re-releases too. Undead Nightmare. Yeah, that was that whole era of games was just like the golden era of like DLC with Shivering Isles, like Bethesda cooking everything, Fallout 3 DLC, the Chinese shit that they were putting out, Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto 4, Battle of the Gay Tony, Mass Effect 3 with the Citadel, Mass Effect 2 with the Shadow Broker, all that stuff.
Oh man.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Oh my god.
Yeah,
oh my god. That was such a
we,
good stretch of episodic DLC because like New Vegas had like 4 different ones. I love all of New Vegas's DLC.
Even The Last of Us with like Left Behind, it goes back again to what I'm saying. Like we should not be hitting milestones in life between like video game chapters.
Yeah,
right?
we were literally getting the game and added content.
Yeah, man. But like, yeah, we were so well fed, and we were getting the part of the reason why we love Marcus and Dom so much is because we got 3 fucking great games out of them, like in quick succession.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to over 20 years, And
yeah,
who gives a shit about these fucking guys anymore after like
2 games barely in a generation? Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
not gonna cut it. One ending with a cliffhanger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
now we're not going to see the follow up to that for like 10 years.
Dude, it won't be until 2030, I think, that we get a conclusion.
That's why I'm mad about the E-Day enhancement. It's like, man, like I actually did want to find out what happens at the end of Gears 5, and now I'm just not going to find out. Like,
I'm torn. I'm hyped for prequel. That sounds really cool, but it's at the same time, it's like, well, what the fuck happened? I guess.
Yeah. What I've noticed though, Xbox fans do not care for the most part. Some do. Most are like, they don't. Dude, they don't care. This is what we wanted.
I am alone in this.
They're like, leave Kate in the future. No one fucking cares. Like these two. Okay, let's do it. Like that is the energy that they got.
Even people I know and respect, they're like, no, fuck the modern story. I want to go back to Marcus and Dom. I'm like, okay, I get it. That is the complete
energy of the community. I respect it. I'm like, at first I was like, I had the same energy. I was like, I'm kind of annoyed by the announcement, but I'm also very excited. Like I feel very conflicted about it because like, obviously it's Gears. Like they're bringing back Marcus and Dom, cool. But I'm like, this fucking stupid ass cliffhanger, man, and frustrating. But
yeah, and then like, what's story-wise? What are we going to go over through E-Day? We're not going to find out. Are we really going to find out new information about E-Day and the Locust?
There's a lot they can explore. Like they can bring in characters from Tactics, which COG loves.
That's true.
Tactics. Like, they can lean into that. There's a lot untold. Like because the first game begins with like Marcus in a prison cell, and so it's like pretty much like what leads to that moment. I think can be really compelling stuff and.
That's true. I look at this way. He was a traitor, right? That's right. He did. I think disobey orders. So it'd be cool to like relive that moment
idea
again.
Of what that was. Yeah. Gears I think has a lot of storytelling chops. And Red Dead Redemption 2 made me a believer in like you can know how everything's going to go down. It doesn't fucking matter. This will still be like really captivating. And every scene, I'm like, this is going to turn to shit. How's it going to turn to shit? And they just still somehow managed to get a hold of me. I don't know how, but they. It's so impressive. So yeah, even when I know the outcome, I'm like, Red Dead just taught me. It's like you will still love this thing and you will feel things.
Sure. And beyond the story, the gameplay is the gameplay opportunity for revisiting E-Day is like limitless, right?
Yeah.
Because E-Day is the most exciting part of the Gears of War story.
They're gonna have that weird problem that they got to figure out with all these prequels, where it's like technologically we're more advanced, mechanically we're expecting more things, but this is the youngest these two have ever been, and they shouldn't have tools that are now not available in Gears 1, 2, 3, and so on, right?
Yeah. So, Marcus, what did you do with your shotgun grappling hook?
Yeah, exactly. Where did that go? He lost it, and it's like there's a little bit of dissonance.
E-Day was so hard. That's why all the good gear is gone now, and that's why we just have regular shotguns.
All right.
You're talking about DLC. Okay, yeah.
Final question though from Ruben right here, Ruben Barrett. Are successful one-and-done games a thing of the past? What I mean by that is, can a game get released these days, be a smash hit, and not have a sequel, remake, etc.? In the past, we've had games like Bully come and go, but I feel like nowadays, every major title inevitably gets a sequel, and that just keeps rolling over the years and year, decade after decade. Well, I think there was going to be a Bully sequel, but it got canceled, actually.
Yeah.
Correct. So your precious Bully's not safe, Ruben.
Yeah.
Well, right now, dude, no Bloodborne, anything.
Yeah.
So that's pretty. There you go. No Sekiro, anything. So
I feel like Sekiro's got to happen, right? Like that.
Matty, you would think Bloodborne would have happened 5 years ago.
That's
something
fair.
With Bloodborne.
Very fair. Yeah.
but I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, the one and done thing I think
I
is.
hope that they revisit Sekiro's like combat system though. I
I mean,
I think they're just gonna
systems-
fold that into like a new Dark Souls style game.
Yeah. Fold that in somewhere else. It doesn't. You don't have to call it Sekiro. You can call it Yoshi. You know, but
Like I feel like they're gonna try to, because Miyazaki said Elden Ring's almost there, but it's not as magnum opus. I feel like he's gonna try to get like the combat systems of all of these games he's made into like one grand experience and just present those as play styles. Like you can be the deflector, or you can be the guy who's rewarded with aggression. Like all these styles coming together. I feel like that's got to be the vision.
That comment was so fascinating to me. He said that to PC Gamer recently, where it's like Elden Ring is not quite the perfect RPG that he has in his head. So fascinating, because like when I'm playing Elden Ring, I'm like, yeah, this is not it yet. You know, like I know that he doesn't think this is it yet either, right?
I get that. I respect you for having that foresight, because I felt like it was a magnum opus moment for From Software. I was like, oh, everything's culminated to this, and the fact that he's like, well, we're not done yet. I'm like, I'm very excited to see like.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I even like 2 years ago, I was like, oh no, they're not done yet. This is still another building block that they're making. My guess, my hope is that he's eventually going to make a game that is closer to a Bethesda game, where there are more NPCs, like towns, and like life that is actually like going on. And like I think because like Elden Ring has more NPCs than ever before, right? And even with Shadow of the Erdtree, there are so many NPCs, dude. There are so many NPC quest lines that I absolutely fucking wrecked by accidentally falling into the final boss. It's fucked. So definitely take your time with Shadow of the Erdtree if you really want to like make sure that you get those NPC quest lines right. But there are so many NPC quest lines. Like I have to think that he's really trying to figure out a way to have a game that isn't just like all like combat, you know. And that eventually there will be some kind of town or some kind of like social system that'll work. I think I think that's his North Star that he's trying to get to. That's also like Elden Ring, you know?
You know what sticks to me is the Festival of Radon. I'm like, there were so many characters involved in that. And that was like the moment that stands out when you say all this. I'm like, yeah, there were a lot of people hanging around. This was a crowded game. And then you look at the story trailer for Shadow of the Erdtree. Like we've never seen that many FromSoft characters in one frame before. Yeah, there's like 4 people gathering around a Grace Point. It's like
it was 7 people. That's a gang of people. We've never like the FromSoft games are really lonely, and it's like I think they're trending towards not being that way.
That's a good read. I think you're onto something.
I think that's where we're going to. But cool. One and done games, man. I wish there were more of them, but I don't know. You know, everything has to be IP now. You know.
Yeah. It's a tough line to walk, because you think of it like 2 ways. I think the reason sequels are left open, like I think there's a business necessity to them.
Absolutely.
I think some visions are longer term than others. I think the weird part is like, this is a movie, but I think it's the best example I can think of. Is like, I saw Joker 1. I was like, that's a phenomenal one and done, right? Like that's a great movie. I don't know what else you have to tell there. And then they announced like Joker, this sequel, and the trailers look great. So I'm not doubting it, but it's like, what more is there? That felt like very full circle. And that's
emotionally hard. Like what more can we explore with the Joker? Come on, you know?
Yeah. And so some games I feel are kind of forced into that sequel rabbit hole, because it's like, well, especially if like you're a smaller dev, it's like, well, we had this idea for like a one and done, but now we have more money, more time, more attention than ever before, and we can go and make this on a bigger level. How do we connect this to the last game, even though it was supposed to be like no other story beyond this? I always say, like, when I built the world I'm building, I'm just like, just plan for, you know, what you may not expect later. Like, just kind of keep in mind, you know, there might be something down the line. If you can explore that sort of thing, keep that option open, keep that option available. Because then I think these companies don't get caught flat-footed as often. If there's any indication of why we're like companies exploring sequels more and more, I just look at Supergiant. They've never made a sequel before, and then they just show up with Hades 2. Like, that's very telling of where we're at, because like that is a company, again, never made a sequel. So really interesting to see them double dip in that. That's why I'm super excited for the full release of that game. So I'm curious what they saw after Hades 1 that said, like, let's go back to this and like do it bigger and better. Like, what is left? Because again, the best part about Supergiant games is like, I feel very fulfilled after every playthrough. I'm just like, yep, that's great. Bring on the next journey. Where are we going next? And they were like, no, you're going back here. So keen to see what they can do with Hades 2. I know apparently early access has been great, but I definitely think one and done is becoming less and less of a thing because of the business. Like, development's been
expensive
more
games
difficult,
are.
how expensive it is. Once you have the assets built for like one universe, it's really hard to transfer them over to another and be like, well, let's just make this work. It's like you can't just fit a circle in a square box. You gotta, we have the assets built for this world. Like, let's build another thing with this here. And like, it'll be cheaper maybe because we have a lot of the stuff built. We're just going to add on top of it. And so maybe the development timeline is quicker. And that's how you get, maybe if the team sticks together, you get Jedi Survivor 4 years after Fallen Order.
Yeah, Shadow Erdtree still uses animations that are in Demon Souls,
Yeah, exactly. Like the shared assets in these worlds. I mean, that's where FromSoft really thrives, is that they've had the ability to share assets and make new IP at the same time. Like that's why I think they're at where they are, because they've retained employees and just continue to like reuse shit. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the dodge animation from Demon Souls is still the same one from in Elden Ring, right? Like,
it is, it's the same one. Yeah, I just played Dark Souls 1 last night, and I did a block with my shield and with a really heavy attack, and it bounces you back.
Yeah, the same way you slide on the ground.
Like you just get thrown back with your shield still up, and I was like, oh, that must have been a new animation in Dark Souls 3, and I played Dark Souls 1. I was like, no, this is literally, you can see it in the very first fight in Dark Souls 1.
When your stamina gets exhausted with the shield up, and the way you kind of open up your defense, and you get the same sound effect and everything, like. Yeah. And there's so much shit that's reused, so it's like that's why they get to build these big worlds, because like the skeleton's there. It's like we can run, we can roll, we can swing. Okay, we have all of that. Where are we going to put this? And so I think that's why. Also, like
I said, it's all IP. It's not always all IP. Also, because like some of these game creators are being creative, and they are, game creation is iterative, right? So they might want to just build upon an idea, and the best way to do that is within a sequel, and it makes sense. So like obviously there are like 10,000 Mario games because they just have all these ideas, and they just use Mario as the avenue to explore them, and that's what FromSoft has been doing, where they have all these ideas, and they'll be like, well, here, why don't we try it with the samurai game, and why don't we try it with this Victorian game, and why don't we try it with this massive open world game, It's tough. But yeah, games are different because we are unique in that, there could be one-offs, but there is a huge argument for sequels and iteration, because there's a creative argument for it, there's a very compelling creative argument for it, and there's a very compelling financial argument for it too. Obviously with established IP and continuing stories and worlds and everything, right?
Yeah,
well said.
All right, boys. That's it. Another episode in the books of Summon Sign. Gene, Matty, thank you for joining me. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Loved hearing you guys talk about Elden Ring. It's close. So excited.
Yeah, dude.
So anything to say before?
Avoid the internet.
Yeah. Anything to say before we go? Or should we just get the hell out of here?
Go read my review. Watch the posts. I would have given Shadow the Erdtree 4 stars. But
okay.
And I also have a little return to tips and guides. The Washington Post gaming section closed down, and we had a little guide section. And now I wrote up a little guides, for a little 5 tips you should know before you go into Shadow the Erdtree. So very general tips. I already said one here, which is level up. Like don't worry about being under level or over leveled. Fuck the meta. Cash in the experience. Go to level 300. You're gonna be fine. Or maybe you won't be.
We'll see. Matty, anything before we go?
No, I think I've said my piece. Always good being here, talking games with you boys. I love talking games with you guys. Yeah, dude. I'm excited to see what people think of Shadow Erdtree. I will also have my review up if anyone wants to check it out on my Mr. Matty channel. I am going to be giving it a buy rating, so go ahead, check that out if you want to see more conversation on the game. So yeah. Awesome DLC. Thank you for having me, Brad. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining me. I will check out both your guys' reviews once I beat it. Then I'll go back and see what everyone thought.
Yeah, smart. Good call.
Yeah, no spoilers, but yeah.
Because I'm already sold. You don't got to sell me on that shit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is a must. This is a clear must buy. Everyone who played Elden Ring should buy this. Yeah.
Cool.
100%.
All right. We're out of here. We'll see you next episode. Take care, everybody. Goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.